G'day, you're in the fortress of pop culture, and yes, there is a cyclone bearing down on the east coast of Australia as we speak. Many of us are bracing ourselves as the winds they're already picking up in many places across the east coast of Australia. Please send us your prayers wherever you are. Today is all about Kylie's Tension Tour. Yes, she's wrapped up the Australian leg of the tour. She's headed over to Asia now. Much critical acclaim everywhere she's been. That's Perth and Adelaide and Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney. Not in that order. I think I got it a bit wrong. It was a truly modern pop experience. But what's with this little clique of Kylie fans who are absolutely determined to call the Tension Tour a failure? Keep in mind, most of these people online haven't even seen the show. And that is, it's almost a comedy. We're going to talk to lover Rodrigo soon. He's calling these supposed fans out, but more importantly, he's cautioning them about the impact that they may be having. We're off to Bangkok Airport in a few minutes to talk to lover Vic, who is stalking... that was a mistake. Following Kylie from Sydney to her first show in Asia, where she kicks off in Bangkok on Monday. Stand by for that. A request, possibly a plea. If you're listening to this, you have no idea how much it would help the show if you go to the platform you're using and rate us favourably. We've got excellent reviews on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeart, on all of the platforms, and that's great. But every time you leave a comment under Spotify or YouTube, or every time you rate us with whatever system they have in place on the different platforms, it keeps our show active and vital. So thank you in advance for that. And absolutely, I have to respond to many of you who are asking me if I've watched the With Love from Mummy Markle show. Yes, I have. I think I have one episode to go. I'll be doing a show about it soon enough, but spoiler alert, I quite like her now. And more importantly, I sprinkled edible flowers on my Weet-Bix this morning. So the show is having an impact. We're absolutely having a show on Mummy Markle soon. Back to Kylie, did you see her Kath and Kim impersonation? It all got a bit lost in the excitement of the Tension Tour, didn't it? It's quite fun. And I think you've got to be. And just before we head to Bangkok, here's a name you should know. Caleb Taylor. He's the doofus who originally published the story after the Tension Tour opening night in Perth, that Kylie fans were highly critical of the show. It was a false story. The silly little man didn't even talk to a single fan. He just took all the negative comments that he could find from socials, and there weren't very many of those, and then he deliberately paid very little attention to the avalanche of positive feedback. And bada bing, bada boom, silly Caleb had himself a story. A false story. A true example of media untruth. Caleb Taylor, we've reached out to you, and we understand that you have received our request. But like a coward, you haven't responded, not even to decline our offer to come on the show. That might be courteous, Caleb. Just say no thanks. You've issued an apology, a fake apology, which was yet more clickbait. Some of you would have seen that headline, I issue an apology to Kylie. Absolute clickbait. Why not prove yourself a man, Caleb? Why don't you come on a Kylie podcast like this one and furnish a genuine sorry to Kylie's fans and Kylie herself? I'm sure you won't, because there's nothing in it for you, is there, Caleb? You're a tedious, lazy excuse for a journalist. He's allegedly a senior writer, in inverted commas, if you can believe that. I went back and I read quite a bit of Caleb's work, and frankly, most of it could have been authored by a first-year grad student. Senior. I wonder why Channel 7 would bestow that title to someone who just regurgitates the views of others. No independent investigation anywhere to be seen in your work, Caleb. Zero. Zilch. Okay. You're in the fortress, everyone. We're heading to lovers Vic, then Rodrigo, and then the absolutely lovely Jude. You're listening to Time to Talk. I know you're at Bangkok Airport. You only just landed.
I just landed like about 30 minutes ago, yeah.
Long flight, isn't it? About 9 hours or 10 hours from Sydney?
Yeah, I slept through it.
Yeah, oh, good on you, good on you. Now, listen, Vic, you're just the type of fan that I love to talk to because tell me where I'm getting this wrong. You went from the United States to Sydney to see Kylie, and now you're following her to Asia so that you can see her in Bangkok as well.
Uh, Call me obsessed, right? That's what true fans do.
It is amazing. And I've got to ask, I'm dying to know what you thought of the show, but I need to start here. Why didn't you wait for her to come to the United States? Because for the first time in her career, she's doing the proper tour over there.
It's a little sentimental for me. Like, I've known her music and I've been a fan for so many years. And she's at a point in her life, right, that, like, it's pretty nostalgic for us fans who have seen her so many times in the past. I just want to see more and more of her. So I just didn't want to wait till she came to the United States. I'm like, why not go to Australia itself and start it where it all began? I wish I could go to Melbourne, but I have friends in Sydney, so I said, why not Sydney?
Absolutely. And I was there too. Were you at show number one, two, or three in
I
Sydney?
was I was on the last night, and it was intentional because like, I could tell that she was so emotional, like the final night, and yeah, that's why I picked the third night. Yeah,
Yeah, final night in on the Australian leg of the tour. So,
yeah.
without further ado, tell us, what did you make of the show?
You know, I couldn't have expected anything less from her because I, I mean, I curb my expectations because she always surpasses them. So it was mind blowing. I obviously had really good seats. I was like 3 rows from the stage, not
Wow.
the B stage, the main stage, and it
Wow.
was mind blowing. It was mind blowing as always. Like, it it never changes. And like, at the end of the show, you go back home and you just cannot sleep because you're on such a high. Like, that's the high that we all crave for.
It's euphoria, isn't it? It's just pure euphoria.
Yeah.
Amazing. Had you done spoilers before you saw the show, or was it a complete surprise to you?
I mean, yeah, being part of the like Facebook pages and all that stuff, it's so tough to avoid those. And I honestly don't mind. And it was a good thing that I did see some of the reactions and videos that all the fans were posting. Yeah, I did. So spoilers don't ruin it for me.
What was it about this show that really stood out to you? Was it the amazing opening? Was it the disco medley? Was it the fact that she went back to the some of her original Rhythm of Love material and did it as intended, the original versions? Or was it the ending? Was it Padam? What did it for you? What were the moments in this show that grabbed Vic?
Okay, so that there are like five different parts, right? And I'll be totally honest. I don't think I can pick. There was one part that was better than the other because each one was so good. But if I had to pick one part that really like put me in a trance, was the part where she came in the purple short dress, right? And
Yes.
the time bomb piece. That whole thing was pretty damn amazing. It was so good.
Oh, Vic, a lot of people are saying that, myself included. I was such in a trance after it. I couldn't quite remember, but I said to someone who'd been to the show, I said it was the bit where she transforms into a purple dress and then she just, and what I know it to be now is the Chemical Brothers remix of Slow.
Slow, yes, yes, yes.
And then she just marches with such attitude down. And then that whole section of Edge of Saturday Night and Time Bomb, incredible, right?
It was, and God bless her for like, it's probably her genes that she is so beautiful, and nobody would newer fans, like, if you introduce her to newer fans, people who have not kids who have not seen her or known her music, and you just show them a video and you don't tell them that her age, and they're like, for real, is she 56, and how can she have that kind of energy and that kind of stage presence and the voice? It only keeps getting better. There's no part of Kylie, it's not, it's like it's a reversal, like she's getting better and better with age.
like Kylie Button, we could call her, I guess. And a lot of people are talking about the voice. I have
Yeah.
heard this now about 5 times, and it's my opinion too. Her voice was just pristine on the Tension tour so far. It's whatever she's doing. There was one fan I spoke to who thinks that when she's drinking from that little bottle in between songs, apparently it's some sort of solution that's helping her throat and her keeping that voice pristine. But boy, she sounds good, doesn't she, Vic?
She is amazing. She's, as I said, like, I've not known any artist, and I've been to many live shows all over the world, but she's the only one. And again, I could be biased because I'm an obsessed fan, but I'm also pretty critical. Like, I'm seeing all these younger artists, like from Dua Lipa to Charlie XCX, and everyone in between, and even Madonna is still, like, going around the world, and she's working on a new album. But it's something about Kylie, like, she has that perfect combination. Not only she is looks amazing, she's only getting better with her voice, and she's doing things that nobody else is doing, like, for her age at least, and to bring in the newer fans. And it's happening so organically. She's not trying too much. Like, she's just being herself.
You're definitely blessed if you're born on planet Earth and you can go into an arena like that and every person can't stop their eyes being on you. Like, she's just got that presence, right? What
She
did she
does.
do in that middle stage when you were at the third Sydney show? Because she takes audience requests there. She sings Say Something. There's a bit of disco, but she also takes
Yes.
some requests. What did she do during your show?
She was, from what I remember, she did a little bit of. I think it was. She didn't do a Lucky, but I honestly don't remember because I was so distracted when she went there, and the part of the arena that I was in on the floor, they were letting us go in front. So when she was taking the request, I remember the part where she did. Where the wild rose grow, right? So the
Ah,
that part, and then I was totally blown away when she did Say Something, and then with Real Groove, like when she walked from the center stage and all the way to the back, that was simply awesome.
she just looks like she's having so much fun when she's walking through the crowd. I mean, and by the way, super fans will know that's probably a little throwback to the Vegas shows where she said she wanted to get close and she did get close to the audiences. Can I ask a question? Since you were so
Sure.
close to the stage, did you notice that there was a lot of security around her? I've heard on the first show, maybe when she does that walk from main stage to the middle stage, it was, fairly relaxed. But then I've heard that the security has beefed up a little bit over the show's subsequent. What was it? Did you notice what was going on
I
during
mean, I
that
mean,
point?
yeah, they were there, but like, she was walking so fast, and she was surrounded by her dancers, and I don't think there were as many security folks on the third night as probably the one before, because I didn't watch any of the videos from the center stage performance and her walk, and that's the part I was really surprised, because the Real Groove part, which started on the center B stage, and the walk from the B stage to the main stage was so long, and
Yeah.
she extended Real Groove, and and that's when we started moving from the B stage and trying to follow her, but because it was so crowded, we ended up just watching the screen, and watching this screen on the main stage, seeing her walk and having fun, that was something else. And you're absolutely right. She took the Vegas show, because I went to see her in Vegas as well, and she just ran with it, and she made it bigger, and that's the reason why it felt so intimate. This show felt more intimate than any of the shows I've seen before.
That is amazing to hear you say that. You saw her in Vegas, you've seen other shows, yet that was what I walked away with. The connection between Kylie and the audience in this huge arena was
Yeah.
so intimate. It was so intimate. So, give us some context, Vic. How many times have you seen her? How far back do you go? What was the first concert you ever saw of Kylie?
My first concert was the Showgirl concert in London. Yeah.
The original showgirl.
Yes, the original one before she was diagnosed. Yes.
So you went to London and she came out in that blue feather outfit. I mean, that was an amazing show too, right?
It was for me, it will always be the best Kylie show ever. And again, like, not that the others are not good, but it's so tough to compare her shows, right? uh, they all are so different, like, but the opening, that opening when she comes up in that blue showgirl dress, it's
Yeah.
always gonna be in our hearts and in our heads, right?
And to be fair, Vic, the first time Kylie seduces you live will always be the most intimate.
Whenever I listen to Tim and his panel of guests, my toes begin to curl, and I feel just the right amount of tingling all over my aching body. Now, let's get back to the show. Oh!
So, Vic, just let me give some context here. There was some
Sure.
horrible headlines that I didn't see because I was on media blackout, but I've seen them now, saying that the fans were really hypercritical of the Tension Tour when it opened in Perth. Subsequently, the same journalist who stirred all this shit up, and it was just shit because
Yeah.
he didn't do any research, he didn't talk to anyone, he just took it all from Twitter. But anyway, he's issued an apology today saying, Kylie, I apologise. I've now seen the show and you're incredible. I'm trying to get hold of him. I'm actually literally, as I'm talking to you, Vic, a friend of the journalist has reached out to me and said that she's going to try and get in touch with him for me. He might be a little bit regretful if he does happen to come on this show, but that's another story. So,
Yeah.
given those negative headlines, and I assume you saw them too, Vic, where does this show sit? Where does the Tension Tour sit in the landscape of Kylie shows that you've seen so far?
Okay, in my opinion, she is the kind of artist who has reinvented herself so beautifully. And again, I don't think I can compare her to anyone for a bunch of reasons. Maybe I'm an obsessed fan, and I've been a fan of hers for so long. But I think what she's doing now is she's taken, as I said before, she took the Vegas show and made this tour and made it larger than life because the visuals are so spectacular. Whoever is that, I think it's Sophie Muller who is doing the videos, and the screen shows in the background.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is out of this world, and it only keeps getting better and better. A part of it reminds me of everything that she's done in the past. The visuals on the stage, on the screens, have always been mind blowing, but this is like taking it to a newer level, and she's just doing those things that, you know, doing it better than all these younger artists. Because I've seen the newer ones like Charlie XCX and Dua Lipa, as I said before. She's like, okay, I'm not just competing with you. I probably can beat you all, given the generational
And I'm so
difference.
glad you noticed the backdrop's been pristine as well, like her
Yep.
voice, because I've been to every Kylie show since the beginning, and she often has visuals. But the crispness of these displays, and then I had Dean from the Gold Coast came on this show recently, and he
Yeah.
spoke about the fact that this is straight from K-pop world. Like this is the trend at the moment to have this very clean, modern, futuristic, but
Yes.
high definition staging. I am so glad, Vic, even though some fans disagree, I am so glad that she took her act and brought it right up into 2025, because she could have come out with props, she could have come out with different theatrical staging, but she
Yeah.
went totally modern and clean, right?
Yeah, and she's obviously, got hints of some of the things she did in the past, like Showgirl, the medley in the middle with Shock, and those dancers who come up in these oversized outfits, and she did the same thing here, but in a newer, more current way. When all those dancers came out in neon yellow, green, pink balloon outfits, right? That's what I call them.
I still
like-
don't know what they were.
I was like, oh my god, these dancers can dance in those outfits. Oh, guess what? They did something like this back in the day, but this is so modern and taking it
I'd
to the next
forgotten
level.
about that. I've asked quite a few people about those strange, people are calling them the Teletubby outfits. But now that you've just referenced it, you're absolutely right. Back in the middle of the Showgirl tour, there was
Yeah.
something a little bit quirky and similar to this. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, and that in that medley, Shock was my most favorite part, and she did Shock on this tour as well, and I'm so glad
Yeah.
she did the full version of Shock I was so happy about that.
And full version of What Do I Have to Do, original
What do I
version,
have to
which I
do?
love as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you went to the Vegas shows. That's one tour that or if you can call it a tour, one show that I didn't get to go to. How did this compare to the small, relatively small room at the Voltaire? I think it was called, wasn't it?
Yes.
So how did this stack up to that?
Well, I think the idea of doing the residency and the kind of residency that she did in Voltaire in Vegas, I'm pretty sure she's going to come back because it was such a big success. Uh, because the crowd is so small, it felt extremely intimate. Like, no matter how far you are, you can see her so clearly, no matter where you're sitting in that. It's not even an arena. It's like, it felt more like a club, a nightclub
Yeah.
where everyone is seated. And I know that there's general admission, like a few hundred people were standing in the back, but even those, they could see her so close, and she would walk around, come down, and that was a small, intimate, real intimate show, the residency. But this one, I think she took the inspiration and wanted to make it more intimate at a bigger scale. So when it compares to 1,000 people in a small nightclub watching the Vegas residency, here you are in the middle of like 16,000 people in Kudos Bank Arena, right? So all those 16,000 people could feel. I'm pretty sure the ones who are sitting it way back in the bleachers, or I'm from the US, so we call them the bleachers. Like
Yeah.
the nosebleed seats. Even they could feel the energy and the intimacy of Vegas, but only probably 100 times more.
Yeah, amazing. She absolutely took flavors from that Vegas experience, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think she's going to be back and forth to Vegas for the rest of her career.
Yeah.
I've done the sums myself. Apparently, she got paid a fortune for it, but when I did the sums of the ticket prices, because they were expensive, and then the
Yep.
drinks and all the expenditure on top of it, she made them a fortune, despite how much she was given. Hey, you followed her to the Asian leg of the tour. You're going to see her in Bangkok. When is that?
Yes.
When's the Bangkok show?
That's on Monday, the 10th.
Monday. Okay.
Yep.
And have you ever seen shows in Bangkok before in Asia? Like, are they great
No,
venues?
this is my first time watching a concert in Bangkok, and I
Right.
love Thailand, and I want to come here. I had not planned to come here for this trip, but when I got the tickets to the Sydney concert, I'm like, I'm already in Australia, and this is like an 8-hour flight, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Make it a
And it gets you
double
halfway
date.
home as well,
Yep,
so
yep,
to speak.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and is that the end of it for you? Tell us about your Tension tour experience. You've seen her. You came all the way from the United States over to Sydney. You've seen her at the Kudos Bank Arena for night number 3. You've just got
Yep.
off the plane. I can literally still hear the airport in the background, which is fantastic. Makes me feel like I'm part of your trip. You're going to see her in Bangkok on Monday. Is that it for you?
Yes.
Do you fly home after that?
I'll be in Bangkok for 3 more days, and then I fly back home, and I'll take a little bit of a break. And after that, I see her in New York City and Boston, and then back in Miami where I live.
What? So you're seeing the Madison Square Gardens
Yes.
is one of the shows you're going to, and then 2
Yes.
other cities as well.
Yes.
That is incredible. Hey, I've been dying. I'm so glad I'm talking to you, Vic. This is the big question that I've had on my mind.
Yep.
How will this show, the show you just saw in Sydney, how will it likely be received by an American audience? There are some fans who are fairly unfairly, I would say, saying that the Americans won't get this show. It's not big enough, it's too cheap, and all this sort of stuff. That's the criticism. How do you think American audiences will receive the Tension tour?
Well, the way I look at it, in United States, her biggest following is really the LGBTQ plus crowd, right? They are
Uh-huh.
her biggest fans. So her shows, there's a reason why she has 2 shows in New York City, and I'm surprised she didn't do a second in LA, being close to Hollywood. But
True.
I think that these cities which have the major LGBT crowd will be the shows will be ahead, obviously. I'm myself pretty curious about other arenas in places like Denver, Phoenix, um, and a couple of others too. But for the most part, I think because of the success of Vegas, it's not only the Americans. I think fans from Canada and probably from Mexico. Mexico has three shows, and I think the Mexican fans will definitely fly over to US to see her in the US as well. So
Like, would you agree with this that the set list was picked very much for an audience like the American audience who might be seeing her for the very first time? So, OG fans like me, some of
yeah,
them have been unfair and saying, "Oh, there was too many of the big hits and all that." It's like, but you're missing the point. This is designed for all the people who've come on board during the tension era.
yes, absolutely, and also disco. Like she, I'm so glad she is doing all the big hits from disco along with tension, because disco is really what set the tone for this new era that we are all looking at,
That's
and
true.
and it pretty much resonated so much with the American fans and brought newer fans to the front. So I'm just glad she is doing so many songs from disco along with tension. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's so exciting. Good on you, Vic, for following her around the world, so to speak.
Thank you.
It's an amazing thing. And as an American, how does it feel that she's doing the full scale tour in your homeland?
Yeah, I mean, I've managed to get some of my friends when she first had the big tour in 2009, right? The first time she ever toured. It was a small tour, but from then, and then she came back for Aphrodite, uh, and I pretty much followed her for Aphrodite, almost like this, but I think this time I'm doing more than what I did for Aphrodite. But I'm so happy for all the younger fans who probably have never seen her in the United States. And if
Yeah,
she does the exact same set list, which I think there's a possibility that she might change it a little bit as she crosses the pond or
I
goes to the United
agree.
States. Yeah,
I agree.
but so I'm really excited for that, and I'm really excited for the new fans who will witness her greatness.
I'm spreading rumors, Vic, that in the United States, it wouldn't surprise me if she gets some high profile celebrity guests up on her stage. Do you think that might happen?
It could easily happen. And Jake Shears, she's great friends with Jake Shears, but there are so many other artists she's such great friends with. It could easily happen. I won't be surprised myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the last time she was in the United States, it was the For You, For Me. And
Yes.
don't get me wrong, it was a great tour, but it was a conglomerate of lots of tours that had gone before it and a smaller, uh, pared back show. This is going to be the full experience this time around. So I'm so excited for the American fans, many of whom listen to this show. So all of you going to it, I'm so pleased that you're getting the full throttle Kylie experience as you deserve. And thanks for making her huge in the United States, American fans. Vic, where are you off to right now? You're heading from the airport to a hotel, I assume.
Yes. Well, I'm going to an island. I'm going to Koh Samui for a couple of days before I come back, because I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, I'm in Thailand, and I love Koh Samui, so I'm going to Koh Samui for 3 days. I'm back Saturday night, and then getting ready for the concert on Monday.
That's where PP Island, PP Low, and PP Lao are. Is that the same area?
It's pretty much the same. Samui
Yeah,
is like, yeah, next to Phi.
beautiful area. By the way, it's where Leonardo DiCaprio vaguely
Yes.
filmed the film The Beach as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Vic, you're a globetrotter. I'm jealous, but I'm so grateful that you spoke to me, and I'm so glad that we've connected as well. I hope we stay in touch.
Absolutely, Tim. And next time I'm in Sydney, I'll make sure I give you a shout, give you a heads up, and maybe we could catch a beer.
Sounds great, mate.
I saw you dancing with somebody looking like it. She know how to party, but nothing like it. Got that perfect body, but she ain't got the moves. We got something better, got that real groove, baby.
Look, Rodrigo, this is absolutely an honor. I don't want to embarrass you straight off the bat, but in the world of
Oh,
Kylie fans, you are a Kylie fan god. if there is such a thing. You really are. You are relentless in your support of Kylie.
Oh,
Your posts are just amazing. They're regular, they're frequent. You don't just come out of the woodwork when there's something like the Tension Tour on the cards. You're always there in the in-between times as well. You are just the supreme Kylie fan, in my view.
oh, that's so kind, Tim. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, it's just like I do love this lady, so I'm just doing like something that she earned that. She earned that from me. Let's say that.
Yeah. Where are you based, Rodrigo?
Oh, I'm actually in Texas. I live in Texas. I've been living in the US for over 10 years, but I'm actually from Brazil. So um, I do understand a lot about Kylie's, market here in the US and of course in South America.
I got you on because you've made this incredible post that I'm about to, and I do. I really mean this. It's incredible.
Oh.
It's not often you read something so thoughtful and insightful about Kylie, and we're going to get to it. But let's start here. How long have you been a fan, and what attracted you to Kylie?
Yeah, no, those are great questions. So, Fever was my intro to Kylie. I was back then, I think I was 13 years old, and I still remember that a friend of mine, he was talking about, I was a big Britney Spears fan at a time, but a big friend of mine, he told me about this new pop singer who had a song called yes,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
how
Did you hear the hearty chuckle of the boy who was there since 11 years of age watching her on Neighbours? The new pop singer in 2001 or whatever
yeah,
it was.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now I know that that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
But then he introduced me. He actually shared "Can't Get You Out of My Head" with me at a time.
Mm.
Back then, there was no streaming, so he had to, like burn this, like the CD for me so I could hear the song. And then, of course, "Can't Get You Out of My Head" was everywhere, and music video was playing on MTV. So we know the story, right? I mean,
And where were
massive
you at the time
success.
in Brazil at that stage?
I was in Brazil at the
Yeah,
stage,
yeah.
exactly. And I remember that I did not care much about "Can't Get You Out of My Head," so I was like, I'm not sure about this song. But then I remember that there was this music festival. I think it's in Italy, and I was kind of like excited about Britney Spears' performance. I'm no longer a Britney Spears fan, but like at a time, Britney was what Kylie is for me today. And I remember that before Britney, Kylie performed "In Your Eyes." It's that moment that I saw her performing for the first time, and that song, I was like, okay, I'm sold. This is it by Britney. That was that fast. It's crazy. I was
Poor
just
Brittany. There
yeah,
was no
I
room in your
know.
heart for both, Rodrigo?
Well, let's say that there was a transitional phase where I love both. Yeah,
A
around this.
transitional phase. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You're the first person I've spoken to who dumped one pop star for Kylie. I love that.
Oh, yeah, I did for sure. Yeah, she was amazing performing, and then I started to discover her, back catalog, and of course I fell in love. I learned that she was not any newbie. She has been in this business for quite a while, and it was well. Let's be cheesy here, but it was love at first sight. I just fell in love
Oh,
with
oh,
her.
I love that. Come into our world. Come into our world, Rodrigo. So, look, let's get to this post. As you
Sure.
know, and I'm working really hard to try to get the journalist on the show who caused a storm of controversy with saying that Kylie fans were not on board with the Tension Tour.
Yeah.
But you've also cottoned onto the fact that it's not only the mainstream media that got themselves into a whirl and whipped up into excitement. You've noticed a lot of fans have been critical too. I'm just going to read back the first paragraph of your post. I just came across a post by William Baker and noticed a few heated fans trashing Kylie's show, begging for him to save her. That broke my heart because the level of entitlement was wild. That wasn't feedback. It was outright disrespect. I'll read more of your posts soon, Rodrigo, but essentially what you're trying to say is people have the right to say they don't enjoy the Tension Tour or they're critical of it, but you think that this is a little bit next level, right?
Yes, most definitely. Especially, to be honest, I mean, Yeah, you could have your opinions based on videos. That's fine. That's how it works nowadays. But I do recommend people to really experience like movies or like a concert for yourself before like saying much about what someone tried to capture on video. To be quite honest, like in every tour there was like a similar comment. Never in like in this level. But I remember for Aphrodite, when the first pictures, kind of like hit the internet, some people said, "Oh, this is campy. This is campy, or like looks like a big like Mardi Gras sort of like party." And then everybody started to love the Aphrodite for being super over the top. So same thing like for some past tours that I feel like some initial videos or pictures they could drive people to kind of like, I don't know, have just like one perspective on what the show is about.
Yeah.
But this time around, because Kylie is not focused on, being over the top, but she's coming with this polished concert that's very much in alignment with this new generation, and she wants to showcase who she is because she has this massive opportunity, to showcase more of who Kylie is and create a concert that is very like Kylie oriented versus, like I don't know, like a big Broadway style sort of a show. She has this chance to show people who she is. So I just love her perspective. I just love her vision for this tour. And I think because it's polished, some fans they were not happy. They thought that like, oh, the stage needed to do this and that, or the costumes had to be like super overly glamorous for her to be the Kylie that we love, which is not true because there are many Kylies in this Kylie journey. We
And this
were
is a new
there.
one. And I think that's
Yeah.
what struck people, Rodrigo. I think that people are really unfamiliar with this because this is Kylie in the world of K-pop, in the world of 2025. And I think a lot of fans were expecting her to come back. And what popped for me in your message was we scream, the Kylie fan community screams, don't become a heritage act, Kylie. Keep your music fresh, keep your performance fresh. Don't go over old ground. Give us something new. She's given us something new, but here's the kicker. The majority of people who are commenting on the blandness of this show haven't seen it yet. They have not been in the arena. What is their problem? How can you make a judgment about a show that you haven't been to?
Yeah. So it's like old times when I remember when the X tour came and people saw the stage, and I remember that some early reactions they got like, oh, this is not as complex as the Showgirl tour stage, because it was just like a big square. And then people started to love the show. So but because now social media is a big thing, right? And you know how social media is nowadays. So people just got like more vocal and more angry, And to be honest, as you said, when they claimed that like Kylie needs William Baker, he was great. I'm not saying that he's not talented. He's absolutely super talented. But this is the new Kylie, as you said. And to be honest, this show is gaining like raving reviews from like people who are paid to write reviews, music critics,
Or people who
all
are there mainly. And
I
I haven't
people
read,
who are there. Exactly.
I haven't read a single review. This is hand on heart the truth. I haven't read a single review from someone who was there that has said anything less than 4 out of 5 stars and who hasn't raved about her star quality. I want to talk about William Baker with you. You wrote, William Baker played a significant role in Kylie's career, and there's no denying his talent, but fans need to understand that they no longer work together and he is no longer part of her inner circle. It's clear they don't spend time together like they once did. And while I won't feed into the rumors, their relationship has obviously changed. What is this? What does William Baker represent? When we hear fans, and I've heard it for a long time, well before this tour, we need to bring Willie back. We need to bring Willie back. What does Willie represent to some fans in the Kylie community, do you think?
Yeah, I think the striking visuals, right? And by visuals, I'm not talking about like backdrop visuals, but I'm talking about like presenting Kylie in character, right? Like impersonating Aphrodite, like the Las Vegas showgirl. I mean, I think William Baker was really good at like bringing different moments in art and converging, all of those arts to kind of like present Kylie in a glamorous, striking visual way. And he represents nostalgia for a lot of people because the Fever Tour and Aphrodite and X came from that moment in time where a lot of people like fell in love with Kylie either again or discover Kylie around that time.
Mm.
So I think that's what he represents. But as you said, this is a Kylie that it's almost like a rock star Kylie with a pop Kylie, but like being more oriented on showcasing who she is to new generations, right? And I love that. I love that there's no like in character Kylie during the Tension tour. We're seeing more of Kylie, and yeah. Sorry, I think I'm digressing
No,
here.
you're saying it perfectly. And when I consider, and I do, I sit in my meditative state, all zen, trying to work out what do those fans want Willie back for? Because it's not about William Baker. It's not. I believe what they are wanting is exactly what he represented, which was theatrical,
Yep.
camp, colourful, and then, as some people on my podcast recently said, shirtless men, a slightly, let's just call it what it is, a slightly gay show, whatever
Yeah.
that is exactly. And I think that there are, and I respect it totally. I think there's a section of the Kylie community that yearn for the very high camp Kylie show. Tension is not that. And I think your point is you can be uh, yearning for the camp Kylie, but you shouldn't be so ultra critical or personal. Has it become personal, Rodrigo? Has some of this criticism become quite over the top, far from criticism, but more personal attack?
I think so. I believe so. And to be honest, if you don't like something, right, even if you haven't attended a show, which we just discussed, I believe it's kind of silly that like you haven't attended, you're seeing those raving reviews coming from everyone, but you're still criticizing because the stage may not, I don't know, have her over like, I don't know, fly over like a shirtless angel or anything like that. But whatever, whatever, right? But what I want to say here is that you haven't seen the show, but even if you have an opinion about what you saw on video, right? Uh, you're going to her former coworker, who's clearly not her best friend, right? I'm not saying that like I know whatever's going on with Kylie and William Baker, but their relationship changed. It's clear because he's not in her inner circle. Yeah, they can see each other like once in a lifetime, but it's clear that their relationship, like work wise and in how to say that, like in intimate wise, right? That relationship has changed, and you go to them, right, to write a bunch of stuff, trashing the other, your favorite artist, right, trashing the artist's vision, because Kylie mentioned multiple times before the Tension tour began that this was not a show about playing with a bunch of concepts. This was a show about connection, right? And
Yeah.
being real and connection and all of that. And she created that. Like I have some friends of mine who were complaining that she was not flying from stage A to B and or B to C, depending on how you
I
see.
was wondering that, Rodrigo. Sorry to interrupt your thought,
Yeah.
but when I saw, I'm sitting there and I'd had the blackout, so I didn't know anything about the show. And I'm looking at the main stage and I'm looking at the center stage, which was right in front of me. How exciting is that?
Wow.
And my thought the whole time, that poor old mall rat or whatever she was on, while she was on, I wasn't paying attention to the supporting act. I was wondering, how is Kylie going to get from there to there? And I'm looking under it and thinking, there's no way there's a mechanical lift under there. Anyway, that was a completely divergent thought. I apologize for that. It
No,
was
no, no,
hardly the
no, no,
point you were
no.
making, but
Yeah, and the point that I'm making is like, then some friends of mine, they were like, "Oh, she just walk in the middle of everybody to the stage," and I was like, "That's not just. That really supports the vision of
that's not
bringing
just what
connection."
pop
And
star
you have
does that, right? What pop
exactly,
star
and
does
you
that?
have this legend that is kind of like, just like walking toward, like traveling from one
Mingling with
stage
the
to the
great
other.
unwashed, as I say.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's
So
really courageous, actually. I really mean that. And obviously, it's a
I
flavor
think so.
of the Vegas tour where she felt that intimacy and she's
Yeah.
craving it and yearning for that intimacy. So, walking, I agree with you. This is not unsophisticated. It's the most courageous thing a pop star's done in a live show for a long time.
Exactly. And imagine for if you're there and you see her like passing by you, at least like I can share a little bit of my experience in Vegas. that moment that Kylie just like walked close to me and she was actually like walking right in front of me, and then she did the locomotion movements towards me. That moment was probably like the most iconic, I don't know, the most amazing moment, amazing experience that I've had with her in my entire life.
Hey, Rodrigo, I've had dreams of Kylie doing the locomotion right in front of my face.
It's
I've
amazing,
woken
I
up
can tell you
quite
that.
happy.
It's amazing. And she did spinning around as well, so she did the spinning around dance right for me. So like Jimmy, I didn't care at all if the Las Vegas stage was not as big as the Golden Tour or like at the X Tour stage, and those were tours that I was able to attend as well. I was just like that moment that she was like at my level, right? In terms of like being there, like walking the floor and close to us and dancing. That moment was definitely like the most special moment, that my best memory from any Kylie show that I've been to. So fans are probably like like loving the experience of like seeing Kylie, crossing stages. So it's so silly that sometimes people cannot see that. It's not about like making the show poor. It's about like how amazing the experience is for the show.
So, key messages here to the Kylie fan community is maybe hold your fire until you've seen the show. That might
Oh,
be number
definitely.
one.
Yeah.
Particularly that fan. There's one comment that stood out for me, really stuck in my craw, as they say. When he said, "If she dares to bring that to the United States, she'll never have a fan over here again." I
They're
know,
wrong.
I know. Really stuck there. It's like the Americans, they want big and flamboyant, apparently, according to this one person. And then the
Mhm.
message number B is, if you are going to be critical of a show, that's okay, because especially this show, we're not entirely positive about Kylie, because unlike other podcasts, we don't exist to try to get all the special guests on. So we tell the truth here. But yeah, if you're going to be critical, it's fine, but just don't take it so personal and really, like you're saying, like have a shot at Kylie's art and what she's trying to do. It's cruel almost.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's cruel, and again, exposing her to like a former like coworker, right? None
Hmm.
of this is fine, right?
Yeah,
Put yourself. Let's again, put yourself on her place here. Uh, you know what I'm saying?
I
It's not.
do.
That's not kind. That's not kind at all.
So, Rodrigo, where are you seeing Kylie? She's touring all over the world, as the Lights, Camera, Action video showed us. There was a whole map there. Where are you catching Kylie's attention to her?
Yeah, Austin, Texas. I'm super excited to be, there. She's doing a show. What is the name of their arena again? I think it's the Moody Center. That's how they are calling it now. But I'm
Is
super
it rude of
excited.
me to say that I just can't imagine a Texas audience for Kylie? Is that it? Just doesn't add up in my head. Like, I'm sure it's going to be a great show, but does it surprise you she's coming to Texas?
Uh, I don't think so. I think it would surprise me if she was kind of like doing concerts in every big Texas city, which is not the case. I think she was really smart on like just scheduling one night in this central area in
Yep.
Austin. Because the gay community in Dallas is huge, and I think to be quite fair, the majority of the fans that will go to a Kylie concert here, they will be, from the gay community. But to be honest, I mean, I think again, I think she was really smart on scheduling like one big show centralized that can bring people from Houston, Dallas, of course, Austin. So it doesn't surprise me. But I remember when I lived in Brazil that when I saw her traveling with, I don't remember. I think with Aphrodite Live, it surprised me a lot that she made Texas a spot, but not anymore. She grew here. She definitely
Yeah.
like grew her audience here, and she was really smart on having that centralized concert in Texas.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you. As I say, you are an amazing Kylie fan, so
Oh,
knowledgeable, so supportive, and I like the fact that you are interested in hearing other opinions. But clearly, in this case, there's a line just being crossed, and I'm glad you called it out. I loved reading your post. Quite a few people sent it to me, and I said, "Yeah, I'm reaching out to him. I promise." Because a few people said, "Can you talk to him?" So
oh,
I'm really glad that we got to do this, Rodrigo, and I want you to come back on and tell us what the Texas show was like. Is that possible?
it's definitely possible. Definitely report back. And again, the message is like just put yourself in her place, like just understand that like you wouldn't enjoy being trashed all over the internet for something that like it's not even real, right? Because the concert is doing amazing. So think about that, people. That's it.
Sometimes amateurs know best, and a lack of professionalism is all you'll hear on the Time to Talk show. Join Tim and his panel of guests as they wade their way through a range of news, music, and pop culture treats. Time to Talk, the show hosted by amateurs for unprofessional listeners.
Tune it in, tune it out. All I want is noise. Turn it up, turn it loud, so you ain't got a choice. Pretend it's in for tonight. It's about to go off.
Yeah, how are you, Jude? Nice to meet you.
Thank you, and you too. I am good. I'm on the Kylie come down train now.
I noticed on social media you wrote you're on the Kylie come down train. That's sad. It made me sad.
Yes, I know. I mean, if only I had the funds that so many other fans seem to have to be able to follow her around the world, or
Yeah,
it-
let's
state
pick
to
a
state.
bone together for a start. How many people do you know that are going to multiple shows in multiple cities, and you think, how do you get the time off work? How do you afford it? And what's wrong with me for not being able to do the same thing? It's not fair.
I know. Look, I have done it in the past where I have gone to a few different states, but I'm in a sales role, so I can, I guess, utilize my work to get into state, go and do work during the day, and then, obviously
Ooh,
not have work pay for the tickets or anything, but I can then kind of go to a Kylie concert at night.
clever.
Yeah, so I can
Just
do that. Like,
arranging the schedule methodically. I like that.
indeed, and I have definitely done that in the past, but I wasn't able to this time because of other commitments.
So look, with the
Um,
Tension tour, though, we had lots of build up, didn't we? We bought the tickets a long time ago. Lights, Camera, Action. The single was released all at the same time with this thumping international tour. The video clip even referred to this global tour. So we've been waiting a
yeah.
long time. Where did you go to the show, and what was it like for you, Jude?
So I went to the 3 Sydney shows.
You went to
Hen-
3. Oh, you're one of the people that I want to pick a bone with.
yes, I wasn't able, like I
I
said, to
was there
kind
at the
of go
first
into
night,
state.
Jude.
Well, fantastic. At least you got to go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we were in the same building together. That's nice. Wasn't it a great atmosphere, by the way?
Oh boy, look, I tell you what, the atmosphere was electric, and it's
Mm.
funny you mentioned that because I took my partner, who I've been with now for about 4 years, I took her to her first Kylie concert last night.
Ooh.
And she said to me kind of halfway through, well, I actually turned around and asked her if she was having fun so far, and she said, oh, yeah, it's a blast kind of thing. And then she said, I've been looking around at the audience every now and again, and she said, like everyone is just so filled with joy and have massive smiles on their face and
Mm.
having an amazing time.
That's what I noticed when I walked into the, I think it's called Kudos Bank Arena.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just blown away by the goodwill of the people there. Like, there's no angst, there's no aggro. You're not worried like it's maybe some other events or social occasions where you think, oh, I better avoid that group. And da, da, da. This was just a bunch of they were our kin, right? They're all
Yeah.
strangers, but they are our Kylie family.
Absolutely. And the thing about a Kylie show, and again, this is something my partner mentioned to me, but it's very obvious when you go to one of her concerts, is that the crowd, I mean, there are a couple of groups, I guess, obviously the queer or gay crowd, and the kind of middle-aged straight women crowd. But then
There's
again,
a lot
there's
of
everything.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed, there is. It's funny because they seem to be the ones wearing more of the sequins than the gay boys, I find.
They do, and they're all holding a beer, and they're all in big packs. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
if there's one mob to avoid, maybe it's that one. They were sitting to my right. That's all. They were
I
lovely. They
got
were
it.
absolutely lovely. But boy, they were having a good time. And every 5 seconds, they'd walk with their girl pals past me. Can I just squeeze through?
Get a
Can't you
beer,
just,
right? Or
yeah, sit and watch
champagne.
the show, ladies. Come on.
Look, that was one of my gripes actually on the first night. I'm not going to lie, but there's also everything kind of outside of that. She pulled up a little kid yesterday. I don't know how old he was, a little boy, and she made the comment that it must be your first Kylie show. But yeah, I saw a few guys who had brought their elderly mothers.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
It's just, and
Sorry,
they love
that's a picture.
it. Well, look, I tell you what, okay, so this is a
I
controversial
hope they were
comment, but
wearing earmuffs. I mean, look, they would have loved the show, but it's a bit loud for an old person, you'd think.
look, maybe it depends
That's
on where
rude
they
of me, isn't
sit. I don't know, but I actually, yeah, controversial comment time. I
it?
was a huge fan of the Golden Tour and the Golden Album, so I'm just going to put it out there.
That's not controversial. Good for you. I thought it was a great tour.
Oh, look, I've got a massive tattoo on my leg to prove it too, of the tour, the book.
Oh, do you?
I
Nice.
just loved it. I loved it. But I took my
The
mum
imagery of
to,
that era was amazing as well. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
right. And well, look,
Mm,
yeah, it was a step outside of her usual stuff, but good on her. Like, why shouldn't she give it a go, you know? But
exactly,
yeah, anyway, I
exactly.
took my mum to her first Kylie concert, and that was a golden concert. And she was like 85 or something at the time, and she loved it.
Hi, this isn't Kylie Minogue, and I love listening to Time to Talk.
And interesting, I don't know how far back you go as a fan, but I remember my first concert, and I think I might have been 11, 12, something like that. And it was just the shrieks of children in the audience for
Yeah,
Enjoy Yourself, it was. And now it's a lot of the same people, and we're still probably shrieking just as loud.
absolutely. If not louder, we get a bit more excited, I think, maybe
It's
in our
nice
old
when you
age.
can tell that. How do you pick the real Kylie fans in an audience, by the way? Is it because they mouth every word? Is that how you do it?
God, that's a good question. I would say that's probably one of them, and this probably isn't a very good indicator, but I'm also going to say how many times they go and how many of the VIP tickets they can bloody get.
That's true. That's true. And if they're wearing a shirt with the original Kylie album cover, that's another good
Yeah,
giveaway, isn't it? And
absolutely.
some of the costumes, because okay, if you're wearing a pair of gold hot pants, that might not mean much. But if you're wearing something like you say, maybe from the golden era or Kiss Me Once, and it's like, yeah, you're a
Yeah,
diehard. You're a diehard. Okay, tell us about the
absolutely.
Tension show itself, because you sound to me like a hugely staunch Kylie fan. Let's start off with a hard question. How does it rate compared to all the amazing tours that have come before it?
Okay, so a couple of points I guess I want to make with this question. One of them is that so I'm 50 now, so I have been a fan since Locomotion, and I've gone to every tour that's hit Sydney. So maybe not every single tour around that she's done around the world, but certainly everyone that's come to Sydney.
Yep.
And I loved every single one of them, absolutely. And I've obviously heard the commentary about how this one might be a little bit more kind of simplistic and without the bells and whistles that we saw, especially with Aphrodite, which, from my memory at least, was probably her biggest,
Yeah.
with the most, over the top kind of design or set construction, I guess. Um, but that said, what I really loved about the Tension tour was one, look, I am a diehard, there's no question, and I will take offense on behalf of Kylie if anyone's got anything negative to say about her. I am one of those people that will jump in and get the shits,
Good for
basically.
you. Good for
But
you.
that said, I can be objective as well. Like if I think something's not great, I'll mention it in as
It's
polite
hard
a
for
way
us
as I
Kylie
can.
fans to be objective, but we try. We
Ag-
try.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have never thought that her vocals, her voice were, she doesn't have the best voice in the industry, right? She doesn't. I think that's just a fact. But my God, last night, well, not just last night, but all three of the shows that I've seen, her vocals are the best I have ever heard.
That's what I
Um,
said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Pristine.
Oh, honestly, and there have been times where I've cringed at one of her shows where I've thought maybe she was trying a bit too hard or it just wasn't hitting. But wow, like right now, her voice is the best I've heard it. I was
Yeah.
stoked. And that said, I went with a few different people on each night. The first night, I went with a couple of friends who had only seen the Golden tour, and weren't expecting a lot from this one because they weren't blown away, I guess, by Golden. They were absolutely blown away by this. And one of them is like, when I say he's into music, he just plays for his own enjoyment. But yeah, he commented the same thing. He said she sounded absolutely fantastic vocally. And
And
everyone
these
that I went
people
with
saying
had an
it's
amazing
simplistic,
time.
the criticism, like I did a media blackout, right, before I
Yeah.
went to the show, which it was, So for me, it was a total immersive experience. And I don't know if it's just not translating via photographs or YouTube clips, but when you're there is this, you couldn't possibly call this a simplistic show. My God, it's on steroids.
No, and something that so yeah, I guess again, she obviously has tweaked the show somewhat, or her
Yeah.
producers or whoever have tweaked the show somewhat since the first and probably the second show. I don't know how much that would have changed things. I can't imagine it would have been a huge amount. Um, but also, I feel like it probably also depends on where you were sitting as well, because
Yeah.
I did A reserve, Padum Padum, and A reserve, and so last night we were towards the back on the floor, closer to the B stage, and
Right.
obviously, when well, not obviously so much, I guess, but when she was on the B stage, we had pretty good view because she was so close to us. But as you would know, every single person in that arena is up and dancing. And if you're not over 6 feet, you're probably not going to get a great view of her when she's
Yeah.
performing,
Yeah.
or even her dancers. And you're probably looking at the stage for the most part, sorry, at the screens, I should say, for the most part, where you're not getting that full view of everything that's going on stage.
So it
So
really
that,
depends on where you sit. But here's the other thing: like I managed to get a great seat, just ever so slightly elevated and right in line with that secondary middle stage. So I had a
great,
brilliant view and uninterrupted. I was on the aisle and all of that sort of stuff. But
fantastic.
even though, like, and it sounds like you're one of them, people who get right up close, I often think with a show like Tension, you're missing out on a lot because there's a lot of like the opening would be a great example. All those lasers and stuff, and you can't really get the full effect unless you're a little bit back, I would have thought.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because the choice of my tickets, because look, for the last, I don't know how many tours, maybe 5 or 6, I've done all the Sydney shows, or at least more than one of the Sydney shows, and I like to get one that's like as close as I can possibly get to her, because obviously I love her
Yeah,
to death, but I also like to get one that is a little bit further back where you are
yeah,
elevated and you can take everything in.
exactly.
Um, I did have a friend of mine who didn't tell me, but she told one of the friends that I went with that when she heard that we were going to the concert, that she had heard she'd seen bad reviews of it. And when we left on that first Sydney show, my friend turned to me and said, "I don't know what show that person was at, but it can't have been at this concert
Do you know what?
because
I'm. You mentioned it before. I was highly offended when I lifted my media blackout after the show and saw
yeah,
all these headlines because I hadn't seen them, and I was like, the media just sucks. Like they take 2 or 3 X posts or Twitter posts and they make a story out of it. So
yeah,
it's probably not even true. But look, it's going to work in her favor, Jude, in my opinion, because there's going to be people going in there thinking, oh, well, there's mixed reviews of this show, which, by the way, I don't believe is true. But even if they believe it to be true, then they go in and they're just swept off their feet when they see it, I would have thought, because
yeah.
anyone who read that headline and then goes to see the show, I would like to meet the person that would say that show was cheap or basic or uninspiring, whatever the words are that they've used in these hideous articles. How could you
Yeah.
sit there and think any of that? You couldn't.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, look, as I've said to people before, she could just stand there and not do much, and I'd be, woo, woo, love you.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah,
but the amount of energy that she puts into that show, just herself, without all the, obviously, the additional kind of production around her,
yeah.
is second to none. And at
She's
her
just a
age,
true
I hate to
star,
say it,
right?
oh my
Amazing.
God, like what a performer, you know?
Like you just wonder
Um,
why. I remember somebody back in the day on Oxford Street. They saw her in a shop or something, and I'll never forget what they said. They said they didn't really know who it was, but this person was just radiating this. Like some people are
presence.
born with it, right? Like they just
Yeah,
are. And I mean, no offense, but Mallrat beforehand, the opening act,
yeah,
really lovely songs, great songwriter clearly, but this is not a person who you're just magnetized to. You're not. And apologies to anyone out there who would disagree, but Kylie, you just can't help. Your eyes just she's captivating.
oh, I mean, she is. And the way she engages with the audience,
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to many, many concerts. I don't think I've seen anyone that speaks to their audience and engages with them and kind of, has little conversations with them on the side as much as she does at
That
every single
intimacy
show
is
that I've
amazing.
noticed.
So, Jude, what were your
Absolutely.
favourite parts of the Tension tour? And then I'm going to ask you about your quibbles, if you have any as well.
Yeah.
What stood out for you now that you've seen it 3 times in Sydney? You went to the 3 of 3 Sydney shows because she's moved on now.
Yeah,
Overseas, I believe she's heading to maybe Asia.
she
So,
is.
what stood out for you? What were your favourite parts?
Look, I think you're always going to particularly enjoy the songs that you love. And I guess with that, like the opening was amazing. Lights, camera, action was bloody
Incredible.
fantastic. I thought I noticed something, though. You said you went to night 1, right?
Yeah.
I thought I noticed something in the opening where the diamond, from my memory at least, she came down with the diamond lit up. And last night, the diamond wasn't lit up and it didn't come down with her. So was that
How
your memory on
interesting you
on the
say
first
that.
night?
The
Okay.
reason I find that interesting is because I've been hitting YouTube pretty hard this morning
Yeah.
to relive some memories, and I swear to God that in some other states, like maybe Melbourne, Perth, wherever,
Yeah.
it looks different. Yeah, it sort of isn't as illuminated, or I don't know. I agree. There was something different. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it didn't come down at all with her last night.
right.
So that was a tiny disappointment, but still obviously amazing. So that tension, Confide in Me was off the charts, I felt like.
How's that video
Um,
backdrop for Confiding Me as well?
oh
Pretty
my
cool.
God. I
That was
mean,
shot by Sophie Muller, who has
ah,
done so many of the video clips. I found out today. Yeah, so like Padam included, and Two Hearts, and Wow, and well, not
right.
Wow actually.
I didn't realize she was responsible for that, but
Yeah.
I've just seen in the various, forums and groups on Facebook that people tend to complain about her work a lot and want her to stop working with her. So,
Really?
I mean,
There's a lot of whinges out there, Jude. I'm glad I don't really read most of it by the sound of it. I haven't heard that whinge.
Yeah, I've seen it a
And then you
couple of
get the full
times.
circle moments. I hear the whinge, and you've got to work with Will Baker again. Do you remember how many
Yes.
decades Will Baker put up with "Get Off" and "We Don't Need You Anymore," and now everyone wants him back?
Yeah, you just can't win, can you?
You
I
can't
mean,
win.
she's
No,
never
you
gonna.
can't win.
No,
Kylie fans, aren't they
right?
hard to
So
please?
pedantic. So
Yeah. For me,
pedantic.
did you love pedantic? I like that. Did you love Edge of Saturday Night? I thought that lifted the house up, lifted the roof off.
Yes.
Sorry.
I absolutely did, and this is possibly another controversial comment. When she released that song and people
Mm.
were going, "Oh my God, this is a massive dance floor hit. I love it," blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Oh, I don't love it as much as everything else she's released lately, frankly, but wow, like live, it was
Yeah.
bloody great."
Hey, Time to Talk family. This is Tim Power, host of the podcast where amateurs talk about icons. To keep our show commercial free, we rely on your support. Many of you have chucked in just a couple of bucks, or sometimes more, which lets Time to Talk Australia pay its way. There's no obligation, of course. Keep listening to us no matter what. Liking and sharing our content is also a huge help. But if you do hear something that you like and you think you can support the show by throwing in a couple of bucks, head to patreon.com/Time to Talk Australia. The link is in the description of this podcast.
Hi Tim and Time to Talk listeners, this is Danny from Melbourne, and I'd just like to say your latest podcast made me very angry.
And as always, we want your voice memos. If you've heard something that you agree with, or possibly you're outraged, and let's be fair, many of you listen simply to be outraged, then take out your phone and record a voice memo. Cap it at around the 2-minute mark and then send it to me. I listen to all the voice memos that come through, and occasionally we include them in the show. Our email is timetotalkaustralia@outlook.com. Thanks for sharing, rating, contributing and donating to this very little podcast from Down Under. I genuinely love our little Time to Talk family, because lovers of pop are an endangered species. So, why don't we go extinct together?
So that's all I have to say. Get off the airwaves. You're such an amateur.
I've got to ask you. I've had a whinge myself about the closing being love at first sight. Is that
Yes.
controversial to you, or do you think it's
Yes.
apt?
Look, I do think it's controversial. Is it a big
Good.
hit? Should it be performed? Sure, absolutely. I don't think, though, it is a finale song.
No way.
Not
What would you have
necessarily having a
chosen?
whinge. I was just surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Look, what would I have chosen? I think probably versus what I maybe expected her to do, and I expected her to close with Padam, being that
Of
it was so
course.
massive, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Or even Can't Get You Out of My Head, but I more expected Padam because it's obviously from this era.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you? So you Padam as well?
Yeah, I had done a little show beforehand saying what my dream set list would be, and I
Okay.
just thought it was a no-brainer that she'd close with Padam. But then I thought,
Yeah.
because it's such a short song, and I know a lot of people are laughing at me for this, but I thought it would go into, I don't know how well you follow Madonna. She did Hung Up as the final song of the Confessions tour, and she
Right.
does the song, but then it becomes this unbelievably global situation where the whole audience are going, time goes by. And I thought with Padam we'd be going on percussion, Padam, Padam. Like, I thought she'd get us doing it and back and forth and back and forth, so that when
Yeah.
we left the arena, it was
Yeah.
Padam that was singing all the way home. But that's not what she chose to do. And by the way, I really am getting tired of Love at First Sight. if I'm
Are
serious.
you? Well, it's funny because it's one of the other things everyone seems to complain about, which didn't make it for this tour, is her performing Kids.
Oh, thank
So-
God that wasn't there. Oh, God.
Look, yeah, I'm not. Oh, yeah, it's certainly not one of my favourites. I
She
don't hate
heard
it,
us
it's
on
not one of my favourites.
that.
Oh, right.
She
She got the
must. She
feedback.
must have heard. Yeah, totally. Well, just one each tour. Maybe she'll finally knock one off that we don't ever want to hear again. Love at First
Right.
Sight might be next. It was still brilliant, though. I'm not really complaining because a lot of fans are counter arguing that it's such a joyous end to the show too, and it is
Yeah.
a joyous end, isn't it?
Absolutely. But I mean, that was one of the things as well about the tension to a set list, is most of the songs were very high energy and uplifting. And look, I was hoping she was going to play Say Something, and obviously she did, but she did a slower acoustic version,
Yeah.
which I'm not, I'm not mad about, because I'm glad she played it and it was beautiful the way she played it. Yeah,
You wanted
but
the original, though. Yeah,
I
I
would
can
have loved the
understand that.
original.
And
the
there's
other
so
thing
many.
is,
Like,
yeah.
sorry, no, you go
No,
first.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, with the whole medley of the disco, I
Yeah.
found that really interesting. That first of all, the people around me, a lot of them didn't seem to know that album, which surprised me because
That is interesting.
But and I know she can't. She's got such a huge catalogue of songs that she can't fit everything in. But I was a little bit disappointed I didn't hear "Kiss of Life." I know not everyone loves that song, but "Kiss" is it "Kiss of Life"?
Yeah.
I wanted to hear that a little bit, but anyway.
Yeah, like you said, she's got a massive back catalogue, I guess.
Do you know what,
How do
though?
you
Sorry to
choose?
interrupt. It just
No,
occurred
go
to
ahead.
me.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me that she will pull out those songs when you think of Ollie Alexander
Yeah.
and who is it with "Kiss of Life" again?
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
that lady who I absolutely love, but she'll probably pull them out as guest spots, right, when she starts touring Europe and the United States. So we'll probably see
True.
them included. You were going to say, though, another thing is, you said.
I was going to say I was a little bit disappointed that I know the album necessarily, the songs from the album, most of them don't fit in this kind of tour, or show, but I would have loved just something out of Golden, and Supernova
Yeah.
may have, sorry, not Supernova, no, Lost Without You. Lost Without You might have fit, being that it was a bit
Yeah.
more of a dancey song.
Nothing from X, nothing from Golden.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? But, for people like me who love Rhythm of Love, and I think that gets overlooked a lot of the time. It didn't this time, which was
Oh
great.
my God, right. I love that album too.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see that. And a lot of people also, what did you make of the fact that the songs weren't tweaked very much? A lot of people are noting that she's playing
Yeah.
the absolute originals of most songs.
I actually
not
really
all.
like that. I
Me
really like
too.
that. Yeah, I love that she's playing the originals. I I wasn't a fan when she was doing all these different things to Locomotion, I Should Be So Lucky, like when she was doing acoustics of I Should Be So Lucky and that kind of thing. I like the originals. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think every
They're
now and then she does
nostalgic,
need
aren't
to pull
they?
them.
So when
Yes,
I heard "What Do I Have to
absolutely.
Do," and that opening was just, I'd love to. I'll have to go back and watch the show, but my memory says that she just didn't let up. The first act was just like up tempo, up tempo, up tempo, and I
Yeah.
do remember "What Do I Have to Do," and I felt like the first time I'd heard that in years. I know people point to Aphrodite, but that was a slightly different version too. This was the original.
Yeah, yeah. It was absolutely great. By the way, Jessie Ware, Kiss of Life.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
Sorry,
welcome.
Jesse. I love all Jesse's solo work too, so I'm surprised I couldn't remember that. Jude,
Okay.
it's lovely connecting to someone who is obsessed with Kylie like me. It's hard to find people in this world that are
I
as
know.
obsessed as we are. You've been there from the beginning by the sound of it, right?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think people over a certain, oh God, I sometimes find people kind of in their early 20s when I mention Kylie, they're like, Kylie Jenner? Kylie Jenner's got
Oh, stop it.
yeah, a thing of wines. I'm like, no, she doesn't
No.
exist in this world. She's nothing.
Yeah, that'd be a social test for me. If somebody said, "Do you mean Kylie Jenner?"
No.
I wouldn't even respond. I'd just walk away. What is it about Kylie that you love so much? What keeps you being a fan for all these decades?
Um, Look, her music is obviously going to be first and foremost. It's
Hmm.
super catchy. It's music that you can, well, I can at least, and I'm sure you can too, just listen to over and over and
Oh
over
yes,
again,
yeah.
and still, still find joy in it and not tire of it and that kind of thing. I also love the fact that she is generally, and maybe not 100% of the time, but generally, she seems very respectful of her fans.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She doesn't seem to, excuse the expression, she doesn't seem to take the piss too much at all. That said, I would love it if she would at some point do a meet and greet. When
Have
is
you
she
ever
going to
met
do a
her?
meet and greet in Sydney? I met her, if you could call it that, during the book signing. That was, God,
The
15,
Pink
20
Book.
odd years ago. The Kylie fashion book.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did a
Yeah.
sign
What was
at
that at Fox
Dimmicks.
Studios or
No, it was at
Sydney?
Dimmicks in the city.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, back in
What
the
was that
day.
like? What was she like up close? I've never met her.
Oh, look, gorgeous,
Yeah.
obviously, but it was very much kind of no photos, no selfies or anything. It's just get your book signed. As soon as she signed it, you're off, and
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it. But I've heard in other countries she's released meet and greet tickets at her shows. I just wish
Yeah,
we'd
well,
get a
we
bit of
had
that, you
someone on
know.
the show for the Tension 2 release in New York,
Oh yeah,
which you probably saw some clips online. And yeah, they got to spend some considerable up close and personal time with her. So yeah, she should
wow.
do that for the Aussie fans, shouldn't she? There's another whinge from Tim today. Come
And
and do
me,
that,
don't worry.
Kylie. I know, I do. I
No one's
just see all.
perfect, right?
That's right, exactly. It's only because we love her so much. It's just like I do sometimes think, wow, all these people have met Kylie. How have I missed my chance? Like the closest I got to Kylie ever was the Anti Tour, and that's
Oh
only
my
because when they
God.
opened Luna Park, I
Yeah,
ran. Everyone, if you were there, you'd know everyone
I was.
stampeded, but I just
Yeah.
stampeded harder than anyone else.
Good
So
on you.
yes, good on me. I
Yes,
deserved that, and I was looking up
absolutely.
at her and going, oh. It's I've said this many times, and apologies, listeners who've heard it, but it's like looking into a time machine for me. I'm looking up at her at the Anti Tour and remembering my on the go VHS and how many times I watched that till it wore out, and just I would make mega mixes of her music and
Oh
all
my
kinds of things.
gosh.
So I'm looking at her going, geez, this connection that you don't even know that we have of my whole life, and saving up in a chicken stock cube box $1 coins until I could afford to buy Enjoy Yourself cassette myself.
Oh,
Stuff like that. And I'm just, she's a part of our lives, isn't she, really?
I mean, such a massive part of our lives. And I did get the impression, especially last night, but I think at every show, I did get the impression she has some, like she does acknowledge that to a degree. And she does have some awareness of
Oh,
the
yeah.
impact that she has in our
Yeah.
lives, you know?
Yeah. Well, she talks
Um,
about this cosmic thing that happens where all these people have these different, like I just described, experiences of how she fits into their lives. And she
yeah,
says it's there in this beautiful cosmic way. It is there. The energy is in the stadium or in the arena. So it's a
yeah.
pretty nice way of thinking about it, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Just one last thing, if I may, because we're probably going over time here. But you mentioned the anti-tour, and I was listening to one of the other episodes earlier, and someone else mentioned anti-tour was one of their favourites. Anti-tour was absolutely one of my favourites as well. I'm curious as
Totally.
to your thoughts of that show.
Yeah, look, you just heard I got up close, so that
Yeah,
was a big win. But uh, look, I don't want to upset myself, but there was something so emotional and special about a room full of people who clearly were the super fans, because otherwise you
yeah,
wouldn't have bothered to go,
yeah,
knowing the words to, leaked tracks made in heaven. And it wasn't just Kylie that night, it was the people that knew every word to every song, which are strange songs that I thought only maybe I knew about and a few others. But so
yeah,
yeah, I absolutely, her voice was so on par. The band was fantastic. Her
yeah,
look in Sydney in particular, like she had the
yeah.
straight hair, she just looked incredible. Yeah, so I don't know. I've never been asked what's my favourite tour, but that's certainly got to be up there for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top three. I just adored how pared back it was. I just
Yes.
adored it. Yeah.
And maybe
Um,
that's so there's a theme emerging here. Enjoy Yourself for me is still one of my favorites, probably because of, the emotional connections, my first concert and all of that sort of stuff. But it was very
yeah,
simplistic.
yeah,
Not even that many costume changes. This Tension Tour is right up there for me. And
yeah,
Anti Tour. So all the ones that have Kylie as the absolute center of attention are the
yeah,
ones that we seem to enjoy the most, right? Because Aphrodite
yeah,
I loved, but I felt a little bit lost in that arena. I felt like it was a show for the masses, and even though I adored it, I loved it, I didn't feel like that was my show so much.
fair
So
enough. Yeah,
interesting, isn't it? So Jude,
it
look,
is.
we've got lots more to come though with Kylie, don't we? She's not showing any signs of letting up, and apparently the Impossible Princess version 2, whatever it's going to be, some sort of, maybe that's on its way too.
Let's hope. That would be amazing. I would love
Wouldn't
that.
that be great? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Jude. Thank you so much.
And you too. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, we'll talk again for sure. I've got Leo and Dean here to help me break down the Tension Tour so far. There's a lot of globe trotting still to come. G'day Leo and g'day Dean.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, how are you going, Tim?
Really well, and Dean, an extra special welcome for you because this is your first time in the fortress of pop culture. Welcome, welcome especially to you.
Thank you very much. Good to be here and good to finally chat.
Hey, can I just say, first of all, I met Dean years ago in the early 2000s, and I haven't seen him for so long. So, Dean, I hope you're keeping really well, mate.
I am you too. I didn't know you were going to be here, so that's very cool.
See, this is what Kylie does. She brings us fans together. Early 2000s, I assume you met each other wearing your gold hot pants around that stage then.
I think we met at like various Kylie. I think back in the day there was like these Kylie meetups through, I think Say Hey, the old forum and stuff before Facebook, and then went to like concerts and stuff. And I think what else? I think with in stores
The work as well.
Yeah, at HMV in Perang, which is an amazing HMV, and I always used to go there shopping and getting my fix.
Where was this, Melbourne or Brisbane or Sydney?
In Melbourne.
No,
Chapel Street.
There you go. Where are you both at the moment? I forget. I apologise.
Melbourne.
I was formerly Melbourne, and I'm on the Gold Coast now for the last 4 years. So.
Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I've got a very tough question for you both before we get into the much that we probably all have to say about the Tension Tour. I want to ask a question that's going to sound really like I'm an old fool. or maybe I am an old fool. Are shorts acceptable at a Kylie concert? No, I'll put it to you, buddy. Are shorts acceptable at a Kylie? I'm starting to get mad and enraged already. What do you reckon, Leo?
Of course, so acceptable.
Did you wear shorts to attention to her?
No.
Well,
Shorts
man.
are acceptable. If you look really good in shorts,
I'm not
then
talking about
that
a
is
hot
all
pants. I'm
good.
talking about a pair of old grungy Kmart shorts. I
I
mean,
guess that's all
hear
right.
hear
Put it
me
on.
out. I sat next to a gentleman who had a migaloo sticking out of each short leg. It was horrible. I thought, you're here for a Kylie show. Have some respect. What do you reckon, Dean?
That's a fair call. I mean, at least
Did you wear shorts?
I'm from Queensland now, so
But
that's my excuse. But I
you
wore
were
really
too.
good shorts. Yeah.
What was that? Sorry, did you wear
Oh,
shorts?
really good shorts, of course.
You
Special
did
ones for
wear
occasion.
shorts.
Yeah.
But look, the people that walk in looking like they've just shopped at Kmart, I think they should be banished. I had to sit next to one of them. It was horrifying.
True.
Anyway, I'll hand it over to you, Leo. What did you make of the show generally? And tell us, where did you see it and how many times have you seen it?
I had the intention, like you, Tim, and keeping away from spoilers. That lasted one night. I I hopped online and I was looking at the Perth show. I was more sort of focused on what she was going to perform, like the set list. So I think the first night in Perth, I had a feeling that for the first few shows, she would move things around. She would like change things out and add things and take things out. So that's certainly what happened, I guess, with the first Perth show. Obviously, the main thing that she took out was "I Believe in You," which she performed in Act Two. But
Wow.
that was
So, see,
removed.
I haven't done the look back, so this is helpful for me. So, in Perth, opening night, she performed I Believe in You. It wouldn't have fit, I don't think. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. So that was in Act Two, but I guess Act One she opened with "Lights, Camera, Action," which is an obvious opener. Um, and then Spinning Around was actually next on opening night, but that got changed to close the first act. And In Your Eyes moved up to go after Lights, Camera, Action.
Okay. But what
Yeah.
did you make of a show? You went in Melbourne, right?
Yeah. So when I went to the Melbourne show, I went to the first show in Melbourne, and I'd seen like the set list online. I'd seen her costumes and everything, and I guess bits of the staging. I loved the show. It's all about Kylie and about her connection with her audience, and that's the key word, connection. She really connects with her audience, and she knows her audience. She knows what fans want to hear, and I think that just translated beautifully during the show. And it was just beautiful. It was love. It was joy. It was just this
Yeah.
amazing 2 hour experience together, with her fan base.
So it was about a 2 hour show, was it? Wow. It just went by like a blink of an eye. Did it for you too, Leo?
It did, yeah. I just found the whole staging very sort of open and very simplistic, really pared back. But when you combine that with the lights and the amazing screens um, on the stage, and also she had screens above and also behind, so combine that with all the lights and the lasers, it was just really effective. And the team that was behind Aphrodite was also behind this show.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay.
So it was, yes, it wasn't razzle dazzle like Aphrodite or Fever or X, but it was another level. It wasn't a different level, it was just another level, another sort of, it's hard to explain, but it was a really, yes, it was, I guess, pared back, but it was more about the connection
Yeah.
for me.
Well, to me, it was another level. I wrote on Facebook as I exited the venue, this was Kylie as I've never seen her before. I'd never seen that. I just can't think of another word other than contemporary. It was 2025. It was modern, and I've not been to a tour where it's looked like that before. Dean, you've seen this show a number of times, right?
Correct, yeah. So I actually went to the 3 Melbourne shows and the 2 Brisbane shows. So I
Wow!
really
So
wanted.
you've been following it. So hang on, you're on the Gold Coast. You
That's
followed
right,
her
yeah.
to Melbourne, and then you followed her up to no, it was Melbourne then Brisbane, wasn't it? I think
That's right, yeah.
you've been
So,
doing some frequent flyer.
well, I didn't fly. I actually drove for the first time in 20 years. So I wanted to
You're
make
kidding me! You
bit of a
drove
road
from the
trip.
Gold Coast to Melbourne,
I did, yeah.
and
But
then
it was
back
it
up
was
to
worth
Brisbane.
it. Yeah.
Wow, mate, that's dedication. Honestly, I'm giving you the yay for the day. That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, cheers, thanks. Yeah, it was a really great experience. But apart from the driving factor, the whole concert was as Leah said, it was another level, another spectacle. And I think Kylie set the benchmark for herself. With the Aphrodite tour of all the bells and the whistles and the water fountains, and I think that's why some people have commented around the sheer size of it. But if you look at the latest, if you compare it to some of the latest K-pop concerts, like the high definition screens are all on par with those. And it's fair to say the K-pop industry is dominating the pop industry at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty contemporary.
You're spot on, Dean. Those screens, and we've all had big screens at Kylie concerts before. These were really high def.
They were.
Honestly, the one of the highlights of the show for me was those few moments. There weren't many where she's done backgrounds. I can't remember what they call them, but the background stories that come up on the screens before a song and in between songs. They were incredible. The one for Tension, the one for Confide in Me, just insanely good, right? So you reckon this might have been on the cutting edge and taking a leap from the K-pop world?
I think so, yeah. Just have a search around on YouTube and you'll soon see like those big screens are kind of representative of those. So I think they did a great job. And I think it will come across really well when it's, on DVD. Or we don't use DVDs anymore when we watch it on the TV.
Funny you say that. Was the first thing I thought when I left is I can't wait to see that again. I really can't. Dean, I've got to just cut to the chase. You've been to other tours.
Yeah.
Were you disappointed? Where did it rate in the landscape of Kylie tours for you?
I think it's right up there. And to get it back to simplicity, my favourite tour would probably be the Anti tour. So it was just her on stage with the band. So, and having said I'm easily pleased, but I think it was right up there in the top 2 or 3.
And Leo, were you disappointed? Well, sorry, I can tell you're not disappointed, but in terms of the landscape of Kylie tours, where we've had lots of camp, lots of extravaganza, lots of props, like this wasn't that. So how does it rate for you?
I wasn't at all disappointed. I like Dean, I went to the Anti Tour and that was just amazing. Again, just to hear songs she doesn't perform before or very rarely performs, and B-sides and unreleased tracks and stuff. That was an amazing, I guess, club gig. But my first time seeing Kylie was in London for Intimate and Live, and that was just incredible. My first concert. And then I think if I look back on all the shows she's done, I really love the Light Years tour. That was just, it wasn't the budget of Fever or X, but it was just a really fun camp time.
Very theatrical, the honor.
Yeah, and this show was very different. And as Dean said, with the screens, they looked incredible because we had seats like quite far back, sort of near the B stage, and we had quite a good view of the whole, I guess, production. It was just fabulous. It was just an amazing night. The visuals were incredible, and the people around us were all dancing.
Yeah.
You can tell if a concert's going well if the people around you are getting into it. If there's any like dull moments, and there was like straight guys in front of us with their girlfriends, and I was just loving it. So,
audience atmosphere. It's really important. It is a good barometer of the success of the show. And they were going while where I was sitting. I happened to have a mob of, I assume to be gay guys right in front of me, 8 of them, and they were hugging and dancing and just being silly and singing out the lyrics and doing the whole "We love you, Kylie," that sort of stuff, which I absolutely loved because Kylie deserves all of that. Listen, I'm gonna say something interesting. Both of you mentioned the anti-tour as the comparison point here, which is really interesting because that talks to the simplicity of the show. Hey, old schoolers listening, what do you think of this? It even crossed my mind when I was in the arena. This reminded me a little bit of the Enjoy Yourself tour in the sense that it was a fixed set, very simplistic, a live band there ready to go, and the main focus was Kylie and dazzling lights. Obviously, this is up quite a notch. It's 2025. It's not 1989 anymore, Tim, or 1990. But it really did. I believe there's a comparison there, strange as it may sound.
It's like a full circle moment, I guess, if you're going to compare, because I never saw the Enjoy Yourself tour, but on my YouTube channel, Sound Museum, I found these old interviews from 88, 89 when she was doing that tour. And she was just talking about, oh, this is my first tour. And she was so green and so, new to the whole thing. And just hearing her talk about her first tour was just so cute. And since then, she's gone on to do so many amazing tours. And each time she keeps upping the ante, whether it's, the staging, whether it's the dances, the arrangements, but always keeping it fresh and always keeping it moving. And I guess that's one thing I love about the show is just really, it's about the music and it's about her. And I remember seeing Frontier Touring sent out some media shots and videos from the Perth show, and I whipped up a little video for my YouTube channel, and that had like over 20-something thousand views and so many comments basically blasting Kylie and saying it's not Aphrodite, where's the bells and whistles, where's all the stuff. So I think as more people see the show, they're going to realise, don't compare it to her past shows. This is a whole new show.
Let's go to the criticism now. I've had some time to catch up. Essentially, it comes down to staging and set list. I want you to both have a listen to Matthew. He was kind enough, g'day Matthew, to send me a couple of voice notes. He went to 2 shows in Melbourne, so you would have maybe crossed paths with him. I'm going to play what Matthew had to say, and then I'm going to come to you, Dean and Leo, to hear your thoughts about his opinions.
Second night at Kylie Minogue, Melbourne show, Saturday night. It was just, again, amazing. Kylie seemed to be in a much better mood because on Thursday night she didn't really say much, but Saturday night she was talking a lot, engaging with the audience. Brought a little girl up on stage, gave her a hug, and I guess maybe because the whole family was there, Danny, Carol, Ron, Brendan, the kids, they were like literally just beneath me. They came in at the very end, and I think I did see a Netflix crew there because they were all being filmed. She also sang Did It Again, so I was very happy with that. But the one thing that is, I don't know, like there's a bit before Tension, a really quirky bit where she's like, dun, dun. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I feel we're missing, like that quirky, unusual, makes you think, and like the outfits and that bit there, that's, I don't know, that's, I don't know. She used to have a lot of that throughout the show, and it just stopped and made you think. And also, the sexy male dancers. Where are they? Like, yeah, like, we loved that. I know I loved that. And yeah, so that's what I feel is missing. And their songs, the same versions of the songs, like she used to always remix them, and we'd always get a different version. Like how many different versions of Better the Devil You Know have we had? So many, the piano cabaret one, and then that amazing Brazilian over the top one, and if she's not gonna do the outfits, at least give us new versions of the songs. That was always incredible. But other than that, she's always amazing. Absolutely a joy to watch her, and I'm so glad I went a second time to really soak it all in. And if I could go again, of course I would. It was just absolutely amazing. Also, Danny looked absolutely amazing. And and it was also pretty cool to see Carol and Ron, because that's my first time seeing them. And geez, Kylie looks like her mother. So much like her mother. Anyway, that's all. And thank you for letting me have a whinge. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Matthew. I know you listen a lot, and we really appreciate you sending in a voice memo. By the way, if you'd like to send us a voice memo, we love it when you do that. Time to talk Australia at outlook.com. Pull out your phone, record a voice memo. You're not too old. You can find the voice memo app, my friends. And after you've recorded it, then you can figure out how to attach it to an email. It's your challenge for the week. Dean, there's lots to unpack there in what Matthew said. He clearly loves the show. He went twice. But again, I think it comes down to, now three things from listening to that again. Staging, the set list, and costumes, Matthew mentioned as well, which is never I don't have the keenest eye for that. I thought she looked amazing. What were your thoughts listening to Matthew there, Dean?
Again, all the feedback was, pretty positive, and I get what he said around, the extended versions of Better Than We Know and the Brazilian type of extended versions that Steve Anderson does. And, the reality is songs are shorter these days.
Yeah.
The attention span is shorter of the average person, where, fortunately or unfortunately, we're in the TikTok era. Us here on this podcast might like those 12 inches or the extended versions. And they
give me a 12-minute version of Confide in Me, right?
Yeah, I love it still. But people would go to the toilet if they heard that now, right? Or they go and get another drink.
I hope they at least walk out of the arena first.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that, but we can't stay in 1998 forever. You know what I mean? For the times, and I think that's why Kylie is still at the top of her game.
It's interesting listening to you talk about the old school fans and their expectations, because you're absolutely right. Whenever she does a medley, I think, I only got a few seconds of my favourite song. That sucks, damn it. Because she loves a medley, always has loved a medley. By the way, I have to say, even though I'm not the biggest fan of medleys, I did love the disco medley.
Same.
Oh, my God.
Same here.
So good. I mean, look, I'm still in euphoria land. So, like I said at the top, you might not want to respect anything I say because I'm just debated still. But, Leo, I don't know. Matthew talks about the versions of the songs. Again, it comes, I believe, now that I'm thinking on it, I've seen the show, I believe that this show is designed for the uninitiated Kylie fans. So, therefore, let's have the originals. And I think for fans that might not have bothered to come or who've been re-inspired by Padam Padam and Tension. Do you think there's any truth in that, Leo?
Oh, totally. As Dean said, I mean, everyone's attention span is so small. I mean, when I post clips on YouTube, you can see, how long people watch for. And like a 10-minute video is like, on average, maybe 2.5 minutes. People just, it's really, really disturbing and crazy. But I mean, what she's done, because she's got so many songs, so many hits, she's doing that whole verse, chorus, bridge, chorus thing. So to make it shorter. So all the songs, pretty much all of them were sort of like that, apart from, I guess, the fan request segment, which was that section I absolutely loved because she's done a bit of everything. in Perth she did Breathe and Lucky, and then Adelaide got Limbo and Please Stay.
Wow.
And then Melbourne got Did It Again, which you should definitely keep in the set list. And then we got Your Disco Needs You and Lucky Again. And Brisbane got Enjoy Yourself, which Dean, I'm like, really, I was like, what? That was crazy.
I wish I'd been there. Were you there for that one, Dean?
I was, yeah, that was great. And that's
Did you do it with a guitar? How did you do Enjoy Yourself?
Just a cappella.
Wow.
And then she said, I'm going to stop because I'll bugger it up. Or she'd say something else, but she'll ruin.
Talking about that audience request section, we'll talk about it, but let's just have a quick recap of this, presumably is Melbourne.
Clever girl, think you are, but you think too much. Shut down, turn around, don't look that way anymore. Clever girl, think you know, but what's the lyrics?
Go to a different door, Kylie.
You gon' be completely by surprise.
Come on now.
You know it's all in your head. You better put that business to bed. By your fair hands and design you met with the monster in your mind. You did it again. You did it again. Won't you listen to me when I
So good. I feel like I'm back at the Intimate and Live tour, I've got to say. It was so good. Hey, Dean, her voice is so good. How old is the woman? 56 or something? Or 74 or 82? I'm not sure. But she's, her voice is pristine, maybe better than ever.
I think so. And, I wanted to make a comment about that today because she's looked after her voice.
Yes.
She's had, vocal trainers at every concert, every tour she's done. And, she takes those little drinks between her songs as well to make sure she's got the vocal chops for the night.
You think that's part of it? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah,
what do you reckon she's drinking? Water? Straight water?
No, it's a special concoction for her
vocals.
Is
it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Do you know what it is? Spirulina. I must get onto it, whatever it is.
Get some, right? Yeah. I think I remember hearing years ago one of her vocal trainers got her onto this, and she's been addicted ever since. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I never knew that. I see her taking her sips, but I've always wondered what's in it. There you go. Yeah, but the vocals were just amazing. Look, I've said this from Enjoy Yourself onwards, and I know I'm in the minority. I wish they'd turn the volume down just a little bit. I started off, this is officially me becoming an old man. For the first time ever, I started the concert with earplugs. I've never worn them before. I felt ashamed. I thought, what is that going to do? But I'm just going to put them in till I can work out just how loud she's going to do it. I don't know. Is it just my auditory system? Does it sound distorted to you because they have it so loud?
The concert was a bit of a sound buff. I used to be a sound engineer anyway.
Oh, cool.
The Melbourne concert, the sound was amazing because it's the Rod Laver Arena, and I did notice in Brisbane it was a little bit softer, so it might have been different again in Sydney, and that's a newer venue, isn't it?
Well, funnily enough, do you know, they changed the name so much that I was walking around because I get hopelessly lost, right? Hopelessly. And go back and listen to the beginning of this podcast. There are some stories of a single guy going to the Big Smoke and trying to get around. But one of the things that occurred to me while I was walking around that arena in Sydney was, this is where I saw the Rebel Heart tour. So it can't be that new, the venue, because it was absolutely, I remember thinking, this is where the Madonna drag queen was standing. Right. That's where I got ripped off for a bottle of water. And by the way, I got ripped off again. How much did they charge for a bottle of water at the Sydney Arena? This won't make any sense to international listeners. But I think it was $8.
Oh.
Really hurts.
I just my own.
$6.50 in Brisbane.
I didn't know if we were allowed to, Leo. That's why I didn't bring my own.
Well, I got a bottle of water beforehand, and I was told, "Oh, you need to remove all the water from it." I was like, "What?"
Yes.
So I had this empty bottle, and I just went to one of those takeaway places, and they just filled my water bottle up.
Oh, but you know what, Leo? Entering the stadium, I was touched like I'd never been touched before. I felt like a virgin. The man made me put my hands up, turn around.
Hey, Tim,
all
You
around.
said that you saw Madonna at the same venue.
I think I did. I hope I did. Look
Be
the same.
honest.
Yeah.
Be honest. Better vocals, Madonna or Kylie from that tour?
I'll stop it.
Not even a
Don't
question,
ask me
Leo.
that.
It's not a question, is it, Dean?
This is my show. I've never been put on the spot like this. Are you asking me which tour had the better vocals?
There's no question.
Well, look, I'm remembering Madonna's little ukulele piece. That was unbelievably outstanding, her vocals there. But, I don't know. I'm not I'm pleading the fifth, okay? I'm that stupid Andy Cohen show. I'm pleading the fifth. What do you think, Leo?
I haven't seen Madonna live, so I really shouldn't comment. But I will say that Kylie knows her voice, and she's worked really hard on her voice over the years, especially, from those very early days where, you have to sort of like go around the stage and just try and sing and dance at the same time. And when I think the turning point for her was definitely Intimate and Live. And then every tour, she just keeps getting better and better. I mean, she is, I'm going to say this, but she is older than Mariah Carey, who recently done a row of shows in Las Vegas, right? And Mariah barely moves on stage. She has prompters prompting her with the lyrics, and she lip syncs half the show. Well, pretty much all the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So what does that tell you?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm taking your point. Whenever I listen on YouTube and I think, wow, Mariah's sounding good, but I think it was you, Leo, were one of the many who corrects me and goes, no, but that's all,
Pre-recorded vocals, darling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, can we go through? Let's have a quick section called quibbles. Okay, and I'll start with my only quibble, my one and only quibble. Or maybe I've got two quibbles then. Okay, I've got two quibbles with attention to it. My first quibble is I really, really apologise in advance, but she should not be closing the show with Love at First Sight. When she finished Padam, which was epic, and it definitely was remixed, someone's arguing with me online about that, saying it's not. It is. It's definitely, that was not the original. It just had a little bit more something, and I only heard it once, so I can't tell you what it is, but there was something fabulous about the remix of it, that slight remix. But that's where it should have just kept extending just by another 3 minutes and end the show there. Love at First Sight, it was fun, but it's not the way to end the tension to it. Your thoughts, Dean?
I get what you're saying, because I think you said that in your show 2 shows ago.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. You were hoping that it was going to. You were hoping that it was going to be Padam. I get what you're saying. But I know that she's so proud of that song, and
she's so proud of it. She wrote it.
All of those little songs that were big, and she wrote them. I think she's always going to do them like that. But yeah, Padam would have been a good ending. I think over.
Am I being too harsh?
I mean, again, when she did Love at First Sight, I was looking around to the people around me. Everyone was just going off. So I think maybe the die-hard Kylie fans are saying, "Oh, we love Love at First Sight, but give it a rest from the last number," But to other fans, it's every time they hear that, it's this very joyous type of togetherness song, and it does really go off in the big sort of glitter drop moment with the things coming down, and
it's a celebration, isn't it? Yeah, and I suppose to be fair, the show was very joyous. When you think about it, there were no real. I mean, look, there wasn't a ballad for a start, as far as I can recall. There's certainly no, maybe Come Into My World was as close to that as you get. So maybe you're right. Maybe it couldn't end with a brooding song like Padam, but they could have done something fun at the end, like a percussion Padam or something. Lucky I'm not there. By the way, was Steve Anderson involved in this? Media blackout, I don't even know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
the credits. Yeah.
Where we were sitting for the first Melbourne show, we were quite near the B stage and quite near the actual mixing desk.
Uh-huh.
And actually, funny thing, even before Kylie came on, and it was sort of after the support act and before Kylie came on, there were these three young guys with lanyards around their necks walking past the mixing desk. And I thought, I'm pretty sure that's Ethan and his cousins. And then when
Yeah,
Kylie said on stage, "Oh, my nephews are here," I thought, I think that was them. And then I saw Steve Anderson in the sound desk with Danny and her partner. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's pretty special. That's pretty
You know
special.
what? I've just had a revelation during this podcast. You know, when you get a group of children and occasionally you get a kid that gets spoiled,
Yeah.
right? We've been spoiled by her, right? And now we're all spoiled rotten and we expect so much from her. I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah,
Maybe.
we're spoiled bitches, aren't we, Dean?
She gives us a lot. Like, it's fair to say no one else puts out that amount of music at this time in their career, and then, you know, she spoils us. So we're very lucky, I think. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when this tour is done, I hope she takes a bit of a break because I think she's going to need it. But knowing Kylie, she'll probably have something else on the horizon, and he's offline. Let's keep talking, Dean. So I really loved. What was your favourite section of the show? Your favourite, I guess, act?
Ooh, I did like the disco version, the disco medley. But my all-time favourite song during the concert was "Things We Do for Love."
Yeah,
that's the one that I lost my mind to.
Yeah. I love how she did 3 songs from Rhythm of Love and What Do I Have to Do.
Bangers.
Yeah, Better the Devil You Know. I'm shocked. When she sang Better the Devil You Know, the people around me were just going apeshit. They were going off that whole section. I would have liked to have heard more songs from Tension 2, though. What do you think?
I get that argument, but maybe we should bring that up with Tim as well. I don't know if he's going to add it into the podcast. I get why they put that amount in there, and I think that ties in with people's attention spans and the amount of tickets that have been selling.
Yeah.
I would have had, if I had my way, I would have had Disco, Tension 1, Tension 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I sort of think that with the disco section, she did replace Monday Blues, thankfully, with Magic.
Which is one of my all-time favourites, so I was very happy to hear that, even the shortened version.
Yeah.
But every night when this section came on, I don't know if you noticed, I had a few opportunities there. You notice that people were like sitting down, they're like, "Oh, what's this song?"
Never, I've had guests drop out before. I've never had myself drop out. That was weird. Hopefully it was my internet.
We just kept going. We just kept going about. We talked about the set list and stuff, so you can click that in if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, Leo, you heard my quibble. Have you got any quibbles with the show?
I think for me, what was that, Matthew, who did some feedback? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I did miss the male dancers, the topless male dancers. It always it's always a good part of the show for the gays and the girls. I'm sure
dancers were fantastic though.
Oh, they were. I'm not down to the dancers.
Were they too overdressed for you, were they?
Too overdressed.
Not enough nipples for Leo.
And to be honest with you, when someone said to me, "Oh, what's the Teletubbies doing on stage?"
What was that?
Honestly,
don't know. Even I went, "What the devil are those? They're not Teletubbies, are they?"
What that was, but I personally, just thought there was whole weirdness going on. But the dances were very good. I think it was a bit more, I don't know, Dean, maybe a bit more Americanized type of thing. I'm not sure. I'm not a dancing expert, but I did miss the topless hot guys.
Right. I can understand that. Speaking of the dancers, I think they were, some were from the US, some were from the UK, and one of them, I only found out this last week, one of the dancers, I work with his father in my work,
Oh,
and he actually, it's the same guy. He played Jason Orange in the Better Man film, the Robbie Williams film. You'd like that, Leo?
the dancer did.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the same guy. His name's Chase.
Wow.
I haven't met
Behind
him
the
yet,
scenes
but he sounds
there.
like a cool. Yeah, he's up and coming. Well, he's made it really. Kylie dancer.
Yeah. He's obviously,
Yeah.
as we all know, it's not easy to become a dancer in a Kylie show or a Madonna show. You got to be bloody on top of your game. I have to admit that you reminded me when those. You've called them Teletubbies, so I'm going to use for saying. When they came on, I was very baffled. I was like, "What the devil are they?" Because they didn't really do anything. They just sort of
yeah.
themselves there, and then they went away.
Someone said to me on my YouTube channel, he was saying before, Tim, about the feedback that the fans were saying online about half them not having seen the show. But one thing that sort of stood out to me was that they thought that some of the dancing was a bit disjointed from Kylie and the dancers. And sometimes they were all together, which was great. And sometimes there was Kylie and there was just Kylie by herself and the dancers at the back sort of doing their thing.
Yes.
It was a bit sort of, I don't know, I can see where they're coming from in that regard, because it did look a bit sort of disjointed in some places.
Well, you reminded me of my second quibble, and that was it. And I know that this is not a quibble specific to the Tension Tour. It's a quibble going back for quite some time, but I just want to see one moment where Kylie does, the big epic synchronized dance 80s/90s routine. Just once, like in Aphrodite, there was only one, and it was, I think, during... whatever that Arabia song was from, anyway, it all went red on the stage. She did a little bit of dancing there.
Yes.
She just really doesn't dance too much anymore. She moves, she doesn't dance. So I actually that's my quibble. And I do understand now that you've said it, the dance has been a bit detached. And because if you have dancers, they should make sense in context, right? But they're just sort of there, and Kylie's separately doing her own thing most of the time. So I can see that. Yeah.
And as far as Kylie dancing, I mean, in the fan request section, I would love for someone to request wouldn't change a thing. And then my friend Troy knows the dance moves off by heart. So if he hopped on stage with Kylie and did the dance moves, that would be epic. It would be absolutely fabulous. A bit of an 80s throwback.
Combine that with the routine from Shocked, Always Find the Time. I would be very happy as well.
And speaking of Shocked, I hope when she gets to the UK, I hope she gets Jazzy P to do the rap on Shocked.
Yes, Leo.
That'd be amazing. It's a missed opportunity. I think she really needs to call Jazzy and say, "Hey, Jazzy," and come and do the show with me in London or something. Just do that would be incredible. And the fans would just go ballistic.
If she comes on stage, because it's possible, isn't it? If she comes on stage, she has to say the famous words, "I'm going to get sexy, y'all."
Yeah.
Has to say it. All right. So, and Dean, I wouldn't be doing my job. Did you have any quibbles with the show?
Maybe just one of my favorite songs is from Disco Magic. Could have been a minute longer in the medley for me. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
But look, because we've done, and I don't want this to be negative, so we've done the quibbles. Let's quickly move to our favourite parts, because we haven't really even spoken about that. For me, there were so many. First of all, that whole Edge of Saturday Night. I don't know about you two, but it went off where I was sitting.
Yeah.
My God. Oh, and then there was a certain song where she... again, you can tell that I've only seen it once and I'm still fresh from it because I can't remember what it was. She fades into the black and then she turns into the purple costume. That's epic. Was that Confide in Me? And then she goes into the purple.
That's right.
Whatever that entrance when she came just transforms into a purple dress.
Confide in Me slow version, and then she takes it off and it speeds up into a Chemical Brothers kind of remix.
Thank you, Dean. That's what was really getting me the goosebumps. Was the Chemical Brothers part of that song, and then she goes, "Oh, that was amazing! Just so cool." And then when she came out with that weird, at first weird, and then it made sense. The intro to Tension on the big screens. It goes whatever she was doing, and all the walking Kylies. That was so cool. I
It
loved that
was.
part.
Yeah.
And then it leads into the song tension. I thought that was fantastic. There were so many great moments. And then when she went through the crowd, I assume she does this every night for locomotion to
Yeah.
get to the other stage.
Mhm.
I have to admit, I couldn't see her because there was such heavy security around her. Did you notice that? The security guards
Oh yeah, there were a
dwarfing
few
her?
people grabbing her on a few of the nights. That got a bit touchy feely.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, you watch it on the screen and people's hands were gone right out and
Oh,
dancers.
no,
and
that's not
security.
okay, is it?
No,
Yeah.
that wasn't cool. So I reckon she's going to have to taper that down when she gets to places like Brazil, in my opinion. Because
Yes.
they go all out.
Yeah, they like a bit of the touchy feeler, but maybe that
Yeah.
explains the Sydney show being what I noticed to be. Maybe it wasn't as heavily beefed. She was so like in this little cocoon of security that when she
Yeah.
passed just below me, all I saw was the top of her blonde hair, which is a shame. But maybe that's because people had been touchy feely. She comes very, very close to the crowd in this show, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Which
Great, I love that.
is both wonderful and a little bit concerning too. Just a quick note to another really positive thing. Kylie shows are just full of the best atmosphere, aren't they? You just look around and you feel totally safe, totally in your element, and you think these are all good people. We're all here for such good reasons. I don't know, again, if that's euphoria speaking, but when you get a little bit tiddly and you go, I love you. But I just walked into that arena and thought, these are good people. We're all here for the right reasons, just to have respect for her and to enjoy ourselves. Did you both feel the same thing?
It's all about love.
100%.
Yeah, it's all about
100%.
love and just togetherness. And, I mean, I personally loved, I guess, Act 2, which opened with, I guess, a bit of Taboo, which I love Taboo from the new album. And then into On Night Like This and Better the Devil You Know. The people around me were just going crazy. I was going crazy. And as Dean said before, Things We Do for Love, I love when she sings that song because she just sounds amazing on that track.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to say, not to be negative, I promise you I'm not trying deliberately to be so, but where I was, first of all, big shout out to all those weird people who come to concerts and then walk out and in and out. Like, go away. You're very irritating. But anyway, where the bulk of people left during my show was during that song, The Things We Do for Love. There was a bunch of girls to my right, and they were like pull on each other's tops, went, oh, come quick, let's go. And off they went to the bar, all 6 of them, whatever they do. So I'm not saying, it is a commentary on the song, maybe. I don't know. But she did do a great rendition. I'm not saying Kylie wasn't great, but that's where people went for a quick break.
I think a lot of people haven't heard maybe a lot of the songs from Tension 2 or even Tension.
Yeah.
So I got a feeling that people around me knew a lot of the older stuff because when she did stuff from, even disco, they didn't really know a lot of the tracks. But when she did like the 90s stuff and the early 2000s, they were just going crazy. So there was definitely a mix of the diehards and also the fans who loved her from the start until like maybe feverish type of maybe.
And Leo, isn't that the evidence that Kylie and her crew and her team are doing the right thing? There might be some whinges online about the set list, but I experienced the same thing when she did those older tracks and the big ones from Fever and Body Language. The crowd were going off, but I have to admit, even during the disco, I was one of the few people in my little lot who knew all the words. I was looking around thinking, come on, do the high-pitched magic. I was one of the few. Is that what you noticed, Dean, as someone who's been to it 3 times or more?
Right, yeah. So I think they found the right balance. And again, I think that's a bit of a current trend, although I hate to use that term. And I think, you notice that, we're the OGs, the originals, and we love pretty much everything that she does, especially those new tracks. I think they're amazing and they'll stand the test of time. But, yeah, people kind of sat down and had a bit of a lull moment. Not lull, but lull. So I think, that was quite noticeable. And having said that, I just read a tweet yesterday from Katy Perry, who's probably the next big female artist who's coming here for her album tour. we know that album didn't do great things.
Yeah.
She actually said in her tweet, she goes, "I'm going to be singing all the old hits and a couple off the new album."
Oh, really?
So,
She made a point of
yes.
saying that.
Yeah, so I think she's getting disclosure in first and saying,
I
I
know
said
it's-
it, and then
Well, yeah, I've heard all kinds of things about the Katy Perry tour. I've heard that in Australia it's gone gangbusters, but in the United States it might be bordering on a failure. So maybe she's tweeting out that whole "don't worry about my last album" business because of the sales in the United States.
I think Katy Perry is a bit like Pink, sort of. Because Pink was really big outside the States, and she was really big in Europe and the UK and Australia. And now Katy Perry is probably bigger sort of in Australia, South America, Europe, UK, I guess, as a touring artist. So maybe we get her more than the US does. I don't know.
Yeah, we've adopted a lot of stars. We were the first to adopt ABBA back in the day as well. ABBA might not have been ABBA without Australia, for example.
Yeah.
So, look, let's round this out with attention to it. Do we think a lot like the X tour, it's going to look very different by the time it gets to its halfway point and to its end, or do we think this is pretty much the bones of the show? What do you both think about that?
I think it's the bones of the show, and I did hear that as well from someone. So that, they made the adjustments, but having said that, things can change all the time. But I think that's it. This is what they're going to get.
Sorry, you heard what from someone?
I won't say who it was. They said, they had a couple of changes. I.e., removing "I Believe in You,"
right.
Some of the outfit changes, and this is the show moving forward.
So hang on, and I'm not asking you to name anyone, but you have a little bit of inside gossip, do you?
Yeah, maybe.
And does the inside gossip tell you anything else? Do they tell you that they're very happy, the team are happy with the way the show has been received? Do they tell you anything about if Kylie's heard the negative headlines?
I haven't heard that yet, but let's see. I may have to come back.
Yeah. I often wonder, Kylie, we know, holds old wounds in Australia, in particular in Australia, her home country, where she was getting a very hard time at the beginning. Now that I've seen the show and the media blackout is over, and I could see after show number 1 a headline that said fans torch Kylie, or some brutal headline, which, by the way, is such media spin, because you can go on Twitter and find 2 people that said, the stage looks cheap,
exactly,
and all of a sudden there's a headline. I wonder, what do you both think? Would Kylie would that reopen those old wounds? Like, surely you come back to your home country, you put on a show as incredible as this, and you wake up the next morning to a headline that goes, fans torch Kylie, or whatever it was. That is so unfair.
Yeah.
I don't think she, to be honest, I don't think Kylie reads a lot of her own press. I mean, she probably has a team which, tells her this is what people are saying, maybe we need to do a few minor changes perhaps or whatever. But as Dan said before, I think going forward, I think they've got the mix pretty much right. Do I think there's going to be changes through the States and Europe and UK? Definitely. I think maybe some songs will be added or taken out, perhaps, and maybe some different costume changes and things. So I think as the show moves on to, I guess, the big territories, I think we may see some minor changes, but the opening and, the closing and stuff is pretty much on point. But I think maybe for the States, they may add in some other tracks or take some other tracks away, and the same in Europe. So I don't know.
The other thing that occurred to me about the States, you're right. I would say, my guess is that, like X, I think it will sort of morph through time. But I reckon in the United States, this is just a little guess of mine, I reckon she might have a number of guests. on the stage. We haven't seen that in Australia, but nor should we really. Although Troye Sivan was in town and Sam Smith was in town while Kylie was in Sydney, so maybe there was an opportunity. Although I
He
think
was
they
there
were at
last
Mardi
night
Gras.
in the concert.
What was that? Sorry,
Sam Smith and Baz Luhrmann were there last night in the audience.
they were.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. I would have loved to have seen Troye Sivan get up on stage with her. Anyway, my guess is in the United States that she might pull up some, some US celebrities from time to time.
I heard online today that was yesterday that when Kylie's in the States, that Gloria Gaynor is also on tour, and so is Nick Cave.
Oh, wow.
Don't
Okay.
quote me on that. I just heard it first somewhere, so maybe I've got my wires mixed up. But to have Gloria Gaynor pop up in the disco section would be incredible. To have Nick Cave come up and do Where the Wild Roses Grow would be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, to have some little guests coming up and to do like Orville Peck, maybe is a good one. The Blessed Madonna when she does what's that song called? Edge of Saturday Night. So I don't know, just some different guests would be amazing. Madonna maybe returning the favour.
I can't imagine Madonna ever gracing someone else's stage, though. That's the only barrier for me. I think they've got great respect for each other, but I don't know. Has Madonna ever popped up on someone else's stage ever? I don't. Oh, Maluma, maybe?
Who?
Maybe? Maluma,
Yeah.
where she did that atrocious, poor thing. She was clearly recovering from surgery, and she was out of sync, and the moves went all wrong. Plus, she had a bad hip. I don't know if you remember that. That was somewhere. Yeah.
As I said, who?
Stop it. Poor old Maluma. He's awesome. Your overall reaction to the show, Leo, for people who haven't seen it yet and who are sneakily listening to this podcast, and by the way, the title of this podcast is going to be something like, after you've seen the show, listen to this. So if you're listening to it before you've seen it, shame on you. You shouldn't be doing that. You should do no spoilers. But Leo, what would you say to someone who hasn't seen the show yet?
If you love Kylie's music, if you love Kylie, if you love joy and love and just togetherness and having a great time, this concert is for you. It's as simple as that. It's more, I guess, song driven, and it's more about the connection that Kylie has with the audience. And so ignore all the crap about the staging and there's no bells and whistles or whatever. This is a different show. Don't compare them to Aphrodite and Fever and X and all those types of shows. It's very fresh, utilizing the best technology as far as the lights and the lasers and the screens go. It really is an incredible show. Yeah.
And Dean, if there was a negative headline, it should have been, if you're epileptic, don't attend this show. Dangerous.
Absolutely.
Because that opening, right? Far out. I thought I was going to have a seizure.
And watch it on wide view camera. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Dean, what would your advice be to someone who hasn't seen it yet?
Just experience it for yourself. It was a totally immersive experience. The music was, simply amazing. You go to see Kylie. I go to see Kylie, the performer, the singer, and no one connects with the audience the way that she does. I think they got it right. It's sharp, it's punchy, it's current, and it's allowed me to, I don't know, I've got faith back in humanity. Like I feel like how life was 20 years ago when, there were less cares in the world.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That's exactly how I felt. I was so stressed getting there and all the experiences which would be included in this podcast that I had. So by the time I sat there, almost like a nervous wreck, and then she just blew all my troubles away. And it was, maybe because I'm a Kylie fan, but it was almost religious for me. I was captivated the whole time. I couldn't believe I was in that arena with her. I just couldn't believe it. So there's our initial review. We're going to be doing more reviews on the tension to it now that I'm off media blackout. Be able to reach out to more people who are attending the shows, talk to them, find out their views. We will be tracking if the show evolves over time, which it might. It might, you never know. So if you would like to be on the show as well as a guest, if you've seen Tension, you can send us a voice memo, or you can actually just come on to the studio and talk to me about it. I'd love to hear it. Every show, I'd love to talk to someone who went and hear what they made of it, because I only got to see it once, so let me vicariously live through your experience again. Dean and Leo, thank you for your initial reviews. And how amazing was it that Australia got it first?
Incredible. Yeah, it's like it's like a full circle when she did the
Rhythm of Love.
Yeah, that one also Intimate and Live as well. She started here.
Yeah.
So it's like a full circle, and she's from here. She's going to Asia. So any Asian fans listening who would want to come onto the podcast, that'd be great to hear from the Asian fans. She's going to.
Thanks for your time, Dean and Leo.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
A whole lot of fun.
I'm 2 seconds away, hold tight, I'm about to arrive.